Mr. McCoy, Mr. Lawson, I don't see Miss Lanier. Could you please turn your cameras on so we can get started? It's 6 seconds. 5, 4, 3. Mr. McCoy, Mr. Lawson, Ms. Lanier, if you're back, thank you, Mr. McCoy. Mr. Lawson, could you turn your camera on so we can get started? I'm looking at active cameras. I only see one other council person. I don't want to start until we're okay. I I'm going to start, Walter. I call to order the regular Riviera Beach City Council meeting for August 5th. The time is 7:15 p.m. Madam Clerk.
Mayor Ronnie Felder, Chairperson Julia Botel,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Councilperson Troderick McCoy,
Here.
Councilperson Shirley Lanier, Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson,
Present.
City Manager Jonathan Evans,
Present.
City Clerk Claudine Anthony is present, City Attorney Don Nguyen.
Here.
You may proceed.
Thank you. We'll have a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilperson McCoy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Any member of the public wishing to comment publicly on any matter, including items on the agenda, shall submit their comments by email to City Clerk Claudine Anthony at publiccomments@rivierbeach.org. The email shall contain the applicable agenda item numbers along with the precise wording to be read into the record. Explicit language will not be read. Emails without applicable agenda item numbers will be read under the general public comment section. Be advised, public comments will be accepted for each applicable item and the general public comment section until closure is announced by the chairperson or the city clerk. All email addresses and submitted comments are and will be public record. The city clerk or designee will read public comments into the record at the appropriate time for no more than 3 minutes, unless the time limit is reduced by a vote of the council based on the voluminous nature of the number of public comments. If you have any questions, please contact the city clerk's office at 561-845-4090 or email crobinson, that's CROBINSON, at rivierbeach.org. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes,
Evans.
Madam. Yes, Madam Chair. From city staff, we did modify the agenda to add item 17, which is resolution 6920 for the acquisition of computing devices, and that is been added to the agenda. And then based on the actions that the CRA Board of Directors took, we are asking that item 16 be pulled from the agenda, and we can discuss the impact as a result of this particular item as part of our budget discussions that will happen starting August 10th with the City Council concerning that particular item.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, did you make those changes, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Madam Chair, but I also need to advise the board that on item number 2, where it says May 13th, 2020 City Council meeting minute, it should read May 13th, 2020 special City Council meeting minute. There were revisions made to item number 3 in the footer. The footer originally stated May 15th, 2020, and it was changed to May 13th, 2020. Also, Madam Chair, members of the board, item number 14, there were additions and revisions made to that particular item. The resolution number was added. The funding source was added into the header of the resolution and section 1. There was a Scrivener's error in the original published agenda. The word COVID was misspelled in the second whereas clause. There is addition of the fourth whereas clause, and there were some modifications to the formatting. Also, in item number 15, the resolution number was included on the attachment. And that concludes the revisions that I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Do we have any disclosures by council? Do we have any, that's it, I think. Would anyone care to make a motion to adopt the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments, Madam Clerk? Oh, no, sorry. Madam Clerk, go ahead.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Has Councilperson Lanier joined us?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm here on
Oh.
the phone. I'm trying to get it up on my my laptop, but yes.
Let the record reflect that Councilperson Lanier is present. Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just want to make sure that it's on record for this particular meeting as to why I do not have my camera on. So, yeah, can you just share what the basis is?
Did you want to make a statement about that, or would you like me to say?
No, Ms. Nguyen can just say how we, what it is.
Okay, Ms. Nguyen?
Yes, Ms. Miller Anderson has her camera off. She is present due to illness. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, consent agenda. All matters listed under this item are considered to be routine and action will be taken by one motion. There will be no separate discussions of these items unless the council person so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Would someone care to make a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
I want to pull number 8, please.
Number 8. That is the resolution with the settlement agreement. Okay. Can pull number 8, Madam Clerk. We'll pull number 8 for discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Do we have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda?
Move consent.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Are there any public comments on the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. Ms. Hall, please. The acceptance of public comments on the consent agenda is now closed.
The public comment comes from Erica Seaman, VEGSEN 10@yahoo.com. Erica Davis, I think that it is time to revisit the idea of a workshop to discuss how the waste management money can be utilized. It seems as though these funds could be put to better use to benefit our residents in this community. Our neighborhoods need revitalization on the west side. Some of our seniors can use paint, roofs, windows, grass, and shrubs to enhance their homes, which would improve the community as a whole. $90,000 is no pocket change, and the residents would like to see physical results that would benefit them, opposed to writing surmountable checks to individuals that you personally know. Please consider revisiting the idea. Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, you can call the roll on the consent agenda with item 8 removed. Your microphone, Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous
Madam
vote.
Chair. Madam Chair, one comment, please.
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to point out, Ms. Anthony, we've called that role in several different variations when we've done that. So just noting that. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 8.
Resolution number 6420, of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing an amended settlement agreement in the case of Sarah Goodman versus the City of Riviera Beach, case number 502-019-CA004472 XXXXMBAY which provides a date, certain time for the city to host an in-person city council workshop on the crab pot redevelopment and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, we do not have any public comments on this item. The acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion on this item?
A motion that we don't approve it.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Can we get a second?
Wait a minute, so you just disregard my motion?
Well, I don't know that you can make a motion not to approve. You can make a motion
You asked
to.
for a motion, I made a motion. Come on, who's the parliamentarian here? Madam Chair.
Motion.
Ms. Nguyen, would you resolve this for us, please?
I mean, you asked for a motion, I made a motion not to approve it. You're telling me you're just gonna disregard it?
Excuse me, does anyone want a second?
No, but what's the process here? I mean,
Second motion.
You're asking for me to ask for a second on your motion to disapprove. Ms. Nguyen, can I do that? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
I believe Ms. Miller Anderson just seconded that motion, correct? I mean, sorry, Ms. Lanier?
Ms. Lanier
Yes.
seconded it. All right. Let's
Okay.
call for this is a vote on he's made a motion not to approve this. So it's a little, sorry, I won't say what I'm going to say. It's a little backwards, but
don't say it, Doc.
no, I won't say it. No, I'm not going to say it. So this essentially is a motion to disapprove this, which right, a motion to disapprove. I would like to have some discussion on this motion to disapprove. I have a question for Ms. Nguyen. Has this settlement agreement, this is a legal settlement agreement that we've apparently reached with Ms. Goodman. What's the outcome if this vote carries and it is not approved?
Well, let me give you some background first. You all, I don't have the date in front of me. You approved a settlement agreement with Ms. Goodman in the same matter some time ago.
Right.
However, we were not able to come to an agreement with Ms. Goodman as to the date of the workshop that she requested.
Right.
So that's why it's coming back to you, because we did finally come to a date on the workshop. If you don't approve it, we will continue to go through the litigation with Ms. Goodman and let the court decide what should occur.
Okay. Anything else, Mr. McCoy?
Yes, I have some, I got some statements and I got some questions, but I'm hoping I'm in a venue or even in a situation where it's okay to be different and it's okay to disagree, or it's even okay to proffer something that I would consider my own idea without it being met with so much resistance and challenge. I mean,
Mr. McCoy, I wasn't challenging you. I wasn't sure that it was appropriate or legal to make a motion not to adopt something, rather than to make a motion to adopt something and then let it go through the process. But go right ahead. Please don't take my question.
Chair, systematically, when you say it so when you say it so quickly, we're ultimately agreeing to the terms of whatever stated in the resolution. And that's always, just like in the last meeting, causes us heartburns and unintended consequences. Now, here's the first thing that I'm gonna point out. I'm not meeting in person. Okay, so as much as the settlement agreement that Ms. Goodman has proposed to the city and to the council members, not to Ms. Nguyen, but to the members of this body, the 5 voting members, I'm not meeting in person. So that's why I don't agree with that. Secondly, I don't agree that we should be settling a matter where there's, without getting too much in detail, but I don't agree that we need to always take the avenue of settling a case where clearly there's a citizen who had to petition court for redress. And in particular, this situation, which I'm kind of familiar with, that we have to kind of go back and review certain elements just to have a seat at the table. While I certainly appreciate, and I probably be one to cheer someone on that avails themselves to that right, but I don't agree with the settlement agreement nor the terms, and I'm not going to make myself available to meet in person regarding this case. So that's my reasons for not wanting to support the settlement agreement. But I certainly support Ms. Goodman in her efforts in bringing this forward to at this point.
Thank you. Ms. Lanier.
I agree, and I made a second for this item, but I would love to hear from the Pro Tem Lawson about this issue, because that is in his area in terms of his District 5 is all over the city, but I would love to hear Mr. Lawson's comments about this item, please?
Mr. Lawson, you have comments?
Yes, I actually wanted to have the workshop to hear from Ms. Goodman, but I was in agreement that a virtual should be sufficient for the council since we've been having all of our meetings virtually. In addition to actually moving forward with this item because it's been pending like everything else in the city for a number of months. And whether we move forward or we don't, we just as a council need the right to make that decision. And if we don't agree with this settlement, at least doing a virtual meeting, then going through and waiting on litigation is just going to delay development or no development, depending on what we as a council decide to do with this project. So that's why I'm inclined to want to move forward with this, having this discussion, allow for Ms. Goodman to present for her 1 hour, but I would strongly recommend that we do this virtually.
Ms. Miller Anderson?
Yes, that was one of my concerns in regards to meeting in person. But I do understand Ms. Goodman may have had, she wanted to do it in person, but I am very hesitant to meet in person. And I mean, that's where I am with it. I don't have a problem with hearing her presentation for the hour, though.
Yeah, I had the same concerns, and so I called Ms. Nguyen earlier today and asked if it could be modified to have a virtual meeting. And I think that her sentiment is that we could probably arrange for that, but I'll let Ms. Nguyen expound on that.
Right. When we negotiated the settlement, we preferred to have a virtual meeting. Ms. Goodman was of the opinion that she would not be able to provide all of her documents virtually. We offered to assist her, to have Ms. Noel, she doesn't know this, assist her with uploading her documents, whatever she needed. When I spoke with, I can't remember whether it was you, Dr. Botel, or Mrs. Miller Anderson, I stated that, you know, we would be, if you recall your last meeting, I believe in the chambers, we would be socially distancing. I've already talked to Mr. Blankenship about the setup. We would have the one podium in the middle of the floor. Whoever did not feel comfortable attending in person would be able to attend virtually. And so we were ready to set up for all of that. If we do not move forward with her live and in-person request, we are looking at late fall, early 2021, which is why we agreed to it, just to, as Mr. Lawson said, to move it forward. And one way or the other, when it eventually gets to council, you all will decide whether this is a project that you want to move forward or not. But this workshop is a 1 hour workshop in an attempt to get out of the lawsuits and move the project forward.
And if we did it in person, you perhaps, I'm just saying, I'm putting you out there on the front lines of the COVID, you and Mr. Evans and Ms. Goodman could be there in person. And if we chose to be there virtually, it would still be an in-person meeting because you would be there in person and we would be
Absolutely.
there virtually. Okay, thank you. Mr. Evans.
Right.
I'm sorry, were you raising your hand? Okay, keep your hand down. Ms. Lanier. Ms. Lanier.
Okay, I do want to say that I wanted to, even though I second the motion with Mr. McCoy, I really would like to hear, and Mr. Lawson did say what he wanted to say, but I really wanted to hear from him in terms of this in person and how this should really work out, because I know that he has worked really long and diligent on this project right here. So I really want to hear from him in terms of how we should proceed with this.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lanier. I would proceed with the recommendation that we move forward with the settlement agreement. And if anyone would like to join in virtually, and if it allows for it with the settlement, we join in virtually and proceed with the settlement agreement on August 11th.
Anything else from anyone? Mr. McCoy.
Okay, well, members, I mean, I'm more than okay if you choose to amend, but I'm going to renew my same position. I just want to make sure that I ask some scheduling questions. So Mr. Evans alluded in the CRA meeting that we were meeting on the 10th. This is being suggested of the 11th, and then there's a city council meeting on the 12th. Am I not mistaken? I'm sorry, CRA meeting on the 12th. So 3 consecutive days?
Three consecutive days, 3 consecutive meetings. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I vote that we don't approve the settlement agreement. and I renew that. So unless another member wants to amend, then that's where I'm at.
Well, it's very difficult to deal with a negative um, uh, motion. So I think the best way to do this, for clarity's sake, would be to vote on the negative motion. If that's voted down, Ms. Nguyen, you want to make a suggestion?
Or Ms. Lanier, if she wants to, can withdraw her second. And if
Oh.
Mr. McCoy doesn't get another second, then his motion would fail for lack of a second, and then a new motion would be made.
Okay, Ms. Lanier, do you want to withdraw your second?
No, I'm going to keep the second that he proposed. I'll keep that second.
And
Okay.
and just, I think maybe, I don't know if you want to rephrase it or not, Mr. McCoy, but it might make it easier for everyone if you made a motion to delete the item, or you can call the question on the way you phrased it to initially.
Well, I voted not to approve the settlement, so I want to make sure that I'm sending a message back that we shouldn't be settling these kind of agreements.
Okay, so we'll vote on Mr. McCoy's negative motion not to approve this settlement. Ms. Nguyen, you're trying to say something to me? You're not on.
No, I was talking to someone else. Thank you. Sorry about
Okay,
that.
sorry. All right, Madam Clerk, again, this is not to approve. So if you're voting yes, you're voting against this settlement. Go ahead, Madam
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
No, I'm District 2.
Right.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
No.
Chair Botel.
No. Now, would
That
someone like to?
motion fails with councilpersons Miller Anderson, Lawson, and Botel dissenting.
Okay. Now, would someone care to make a motion to adopt this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you. Would someone care to
Second.
second? Thank you. I don't think we need any more discussion, Madam Clerk.
I have a question. Actually, never mind.
You know, when my eyes roll back into my head so far, you can only see the whites. You know what that means, Mr. McCoy. Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Lanier,
No.
Councilperson McCoy,
No.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
That motion is approved with councilpersons McCoy and Lanier dissenting. Madam Chair, members of the board, let me bring your attention to the time of 7:37. Public comments are to begin at 7:30. What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, let's get them done then. It's time. Please remember, public comments should be limited to issues, matters, and topics pertinent to the city of Riviera Beach. Please be reminded that the City Council has adopted rules of decorum governing public comments, public conduct during official meetings. Public comments shall begin at 7:30 p.m. unless there is no further business of the City Council, which in that event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if an item is being considered at 7:30 p.m., then comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Any member of the public wishing to comment publicly on any matter, including items on the agenda, shall submit their comments by email to City Clerk Claudine Anthony at publiccomments@rivierabeach.org. Explicit language will not be read. Be advised, public comments will be accepted for the general public comment section until closure is announced by the chairperson or the city clerk. All email addresses and submitted comments are and will be the public record. The city clerk or designee will read public comments into the record at the appropriate time for no more than 3 minutes unless the time limit is reduced by a vote of the city council based on the voluminous nature of the number of public comments received. If you have any questions, please contact the city clerk's office at 561-845-4090 or email crobinson@rivierabeach.org. Madam Clerk.
Ms. Hall,
The first public comment comes from email address sp500trda@yahoo.com. The city of Riviera Beach has been holding code enforcement hearings at the Marina Event Center for months. Social distancing and masks are worn at these hearings. So that begs the question, why are city council meetings not being held at the Marina Event Center? The city manager has said on 2 occasions that city council meetings would be held in person, yet his representations, as is his modus operandi, are worthless. The Palm Beach County Commission has continued to hold all its meetings in person at the County Commission chambers, and Botel recently attended a meeting. I have had a number of conversations with religious leaders on the West Side, and they are disgusted that Julia Botel has not been replaced after her racist comments relative to the Black residents, the Singer Island beaches, and by orchestrating and demanding the firing of Lady March Goldwire, a Black woman who refused to follow Botel's illegal directives. There are emails that prove how Botel has repeatedly given illegal orders directly to city employees that are blatant violations of the city charter. It is disgusting that Botel and Gagnon coordinated not only the removal of Lady March Goldwire, but they were part of the conspiracy to make sure that a Black man, Bovell Richards, who has been with the city for 15 years and is the assistant building official, was not made the permanent building official. Instead, Botel and Gagnon saw to it that a retired white building official was given the job as chief building official. Their behavior is disgusting and shows the puppet that Jonathan Evans has become by kowtowing to Botel's every whim. Contrary to what Botel may want the residents to believe, my Singer Island properties are not public beaches but are private properties. I've had multiple instances of theft, vandalism, and trespass on my properties. The majority of these instances has been memorialized by the Riviera Beach Police in the police reports they prepared when they responded to my properties. Yet Botel and Gagnon continue to illegally target me and insisted that my fence permit be rejected. Well, I have news for you. I will be installing a fence to protect my property. It is irrefutable that Botel and Gagnon have engaged in criminal conduct that would automatically result in their termination from the city upon arrest. Why the state attorney has not yet criminally charged Botel and Gagnon, given the overwhelming evidence of their misconduct, is likely based on the future political aspiration of the state attorney, but it is not determinative of the facts. Fortunately, the federal authorities have also interviewed many city employees, and a federal charging decision is totally independent of any decision by the state attorney, Fane Lozman. The next public comment was submitted. My email address, rexyx@gmail.com. Is the city council aware that city manager Evans hired a permanent building official that started on Monday? A quick review of the federal lawsuit filed by the former chief building official, Miss Lady March Goldwire. The case docket is available at pacer.gov. Shows that Miss Goldwire has a very strong case against the city. Ms. March should easily prevail before a jury of her peers, and after paying Ms. Goldwire millions in damages, the city will have to reinstate Ms. Goldwire in her former position as the city's chief building official. Once the facts of racial targeting of Ms. March by the city's development director, Jeffrey Gagnon, and councilperson Julia Botel are made public, the city needs to be prepared for a race riot if Ms. March were to somehow lose her federal jury trial. Either the council or the mayor should hire a retired law enforcement officer to conduct an independent investigation into the threats and intimidation of Ms. Goldwire by Jeffrey Gagnon and Chairperson Botel. Once that investigation is complete, then the city leaders can make a decision as to the appropriate path, whether it be a civil action or criminal referral against the above-named individuals that targeted and coordinated the firing of Ms. Goldwire based on her race. Sincerely, Rex Cox, Riviera Beach. Madam Chair, that concludes public comments.
Thank you so much. Item number 9. Oh, no, sorry. Item number, let me see, where are we? Oh, do we have a 12. We have a presentation. Thank you.
Presentation of the Reentry Program's Collaborative Solution to Restore Our People and Our Property, a Neighborhood Reclaim Presentation, an opportunity with Urban Farmers Program Initiative. Madam Chair, the acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed, and we do have public comment.
Thank you.
The first,
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Wasn't me. I think it was the clerk you heard. Mr. Evans.
It was me. You can go ahead with the public comments. I'm sorry.
Okay, Ms. Hall?
The first public comment comes from Tracy Howard, tracyhoward09@yahoo.com. Hello, my name is Tracy Howard. I would like to share my reaction after viewing the redeveloped home at 950 West 1st Street in Riviera Beach with Terry Booty, president of Urban Farmers, Inc., and Ori Bullard, Reentry Center director. The renovations on my brother's previously owned family home are breathtaking. Personally, the restorations render a nostalgic aura of a home near the beach. I simply mean that it offers a beautiful, serene environment that says, welcome home. The transformation presents a delightful yet impressive view of the mainland. The next comment comes from email address deoncab@gmail.com. Leadership of Riviera Beach. In this moment in time, solutions require risk. The ex-offender on the job training program harnesses the talent, our Black men coming home to rebuild our community. I implore that you would allocate the same level of resources and funding as police, fire, and other critical departments. Urban Farmers, Inc. model of training and building is the call to action. Their model provides a real solution for the betterment of lives, change, and the community. Thank you for your time. D. Brown. The next comment comes from Mervyn Wright, mervynwright@gmail.com. I'm writing this email to support the program with Urban Farmers, Inc. and the Reentry Center. The next public comment comes from Shakia Wright, cwrights@urbanfarmersinc.com. I am in favor of the reclaim efforts. I know the model works and would like the council to consider more projects like this. Regards, Shakia Wright. The next public comment comes from Shaka Khan Tucker, and that's shakakhan89@gmail.com. This email is to support the program with Urban Farmers, Inc. and the Reentry Center. The next public comment comes from Alex Scott, and it's alex@maneuelvscott.com. Dear leadership of Riviera Beach, Inc. International, Inc. is an educational consulting company that has helped thousands of schools and organizations raise student achievement, intercultural competence, and leader efficiency in 49 states and on 6 continents. And we have helped prevent thousands of dropouts and suicides. We have engaged millions of students and leaders to achieve their personal and organization goals. To that end, we have partnered with Urban Farmers, Inc. since its inception as a solution to provide opportunities and skills for ex-offenders. For years, they have provided hope and purpose to some of the most vulnerable people in our communities. Urban Farmers literally builds communities, produces capable, competent members of society, reduces recidivism, and improves our world. Please extend whatever resources are at your disposal to help ensure Urban Farmers, Inc. can continue in this cosmically significant work. Your investment would help to transform lives, sustain families, and impact generations to come. Please contact me with any questions. Sincerely, Manuel Scott. Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the City Council, certainly it's an exciting day for us to share this program with you, but I know that our chairperson of the Health and Human Services Committee has adopted this particular element as their own and has been a big cheerleader for the program. So I would envision that Councilperson Lanier will also be making the introduction of the presentation, and she's already told me, Mr. Manager, I believe in this program, so when we get to the budget conversations, you can anticipate me asking how can we look to continue to facilitate what's happening. And one side note, we had a resident call today, or actually Tuesday, and expressed an issue and a concern that they had nowhere else to turn and I asked the staff to reach out to Ori, and his team is able to address that issue for that resident. And that's something that's so exciting because they are, you know, turned everywhere, and to have this program in our community that can facilitate, um, you know, teaching a trade, but also addressing something for our senior citizens is certainly very exciting. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Councilperson Lanier to make the presentation.
I want to just say that working with Ori Bullitt, who's the director of the city's reentry program, working with Annetta Jenkins, who is the director of the CDC and the CRA's Reclaim program, and also working with Terry Booty, who is the director and the CEO of the Urban Farmers Program. This program, the reason why I brought this forward to the council was for one reason and one reason only. It was because it was a collaboration between the CRA, the CDC, the city of Riviera Beach, and a private or nonprofit entity. I wanted to show the community that guess what? We can work together. Now, you know, people will say, I'm just going to be honest with y'all now. People will say, you know what? People don't know how to work together. People don't know how to just, you know, work together to make something happen. But this program makes sure that it is the community knows that, and as I always say all the time, and I've said this numerous times, that it is not my money. This is the residents, the city of Riviera Beach, the people who live in this city. This is your money that we're talking about here. So what I want to do is that I want to make sure that not only is that one person coming out of their pocket, but everybody who is involved with this coming out of their pocket to be able to bring something to the city of Riviera Beach, to the people who are we consider to be, they say, oh, they're ex-felons and, you know, they don't went to jail. No, those are returning citizens. Those are people who have paid their debt to society. And they're coming here to the city of Riviera Beach. And because guess what? They live here. They from here. And they come here to be able to say, you know what? I don't want you to be back on the street or what they call recidivism. To be back in jail, to be going back to the gun club, to be going back to any type of federal or state prison in the state of Florida. We are giving an opportunity for people who are coming out of jail to be able to, you know, do what they need to do. And I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Ori Buller, who is the director of the city reentry program.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lanier. I appreciate that. And we also, you know, appreciate your support. As stated, my name is Ori Bullard, and I'm the proud and excited director of the Riviera Beach Reentry Center, one of the only fully operational reentry centers in the state of Florida. And so we've been that since 2007, we started. And so I have with me two of our collaborators, and Terry and Ms. Jenkins. I'll just have them to kind of introduce themselves and just kind of give a quick synopsis of their role in this process. Ms. Jenkins.
Good evening, council people, council persons. I'm Anita Jenkins, as you know, with the Community Development Corporation, and also I wear a hat with the CRA. And we are very proud to be in this collaboration, bringing our reclaim effort and our resources to the table and our ability to leverage dollars. And I know in a few weeks when we're able to preview the first home in this pilot project, you're going to be proud of us.
All right.
Good evening, leadership. My name is Terry Booty, President and CEO of Urban. Hey, good evening.
Your sound is breaking up a little bit,
Yeah,
Mr. Booty.
Breaking up a little bit, Mr. Booty.
Could you, if you have earphones
Okay.
and with a microphone, it
I'm the
might help.
President and CEO of Urban Farmers Inc. I just wanted to say good evening and thank you for the opportunity for allowing.
Okay.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And so moving forward.
Let me say something right quick to my fellow constituents and my fellow council members, is that I really wanted this program, and now you're going to see this here, you're going to see it in about 5 minutes, because I do not like to waste time, and I do not like to be able to just ponder the situation. I want you to see what we have to offer here, and then we're going to move on.
Great. And so I'll move through this quickly. Hopefully everyone can see the slides. And so just a quick history. In 2017, we applied for a grant through the Bureau of Justice Assistance. And it was basically a grant based in innovative reentry initiatives. And so we won that grant working with the county. And so we wanted to find a way to definitely be innovative, but strategic in how we could impact our community and the men and women that are returning. And so we met with the CDC, with Ms. Jenkins, and we came up with the Neighborhood Reclaim model. And so we started the project in August of 2019. And so there's a home on First Street and 950 West First Street in Riviera Beach. And so the CDC acquired the property, and we worked with Terry and Urban Farmers in providing the training. And so how it works is basically we have men and women that are released to this area. And so we provide training throughout the week, and they're learning HVAC, masonry, carpentry, plumbing, electrical, landscaping, a lot of different various construction trades. And so how it works is they'll do on-site, which is at the project, and then they'll come into our office and we do classroom work. And so we're working on decision-making, problem solving, providing them with supportive services. So we pay for transitional housing, substance abuse, mental health, all of those different areas to stabilize them while they're learning this trade. And one of the great things about what we're doing is that we work with socially conscious contractors that understand the dynamics and the needs of the people that we're working with. And so as you look here on the upper right-hand corner in this picture, there are some representatives from Tallahassee that came down. The Florida Department of Corrections saw the model that we did, and they're actually releasing a grant solicitation based on the model that we're using here in Riviera Beach. We would apply for that, however, they're releasing it for the West Coast of Florida. And so they came and did a site visit so that they can pretty much emulate the model that we have here. So we also have some county representatives that came through. This is our first cohort of men and women that worked on this project. And so we have some CDC officials there and a few other folks here. And so what we'll do now is just kind of give the opportunity for Ms. Jenkins and for Terry to kind of give their perspective of what they do and their role in this collaboration.
I'll go ahead for a minute. The CPC's role is focused on community development. We are interested in the triple bottom line when it comes to our community. What are the impacts that we could have when it comes to our environment, to our people, and to our economy? So our resources, our efforts are made to revitalizing our community, building up our people, and making sure that we leverage opportunity. And we do everything in collaboration with different partners. We're happy to have the CRA in the city as a partner. So our role in this particular model was to provide project management. We provided investment capital. We acquired the property and provided the construction dollars to make it happen, as well as leverage other soft dollars through grants and program income. We have married this program to our Riviera Beach First Time Homebuyers Club, and we intend to make this home available to one of the people who've gone through that program. So a Riviera Beach resident will reclaim this home and they'll become a part of the community. The ultimate goal of this program will be one day, very soon, to have one of the participants, one of our returning citizens, to be able to acquire one of these beautiful new homes.
And thank you so much, Ms. Jenkins, because we are almost there, because one of the returning citizens has worked with this program is being considered for a job with the city to be able to make sure that this program, escalates in terms of how we're trying to make this grow. Now, when I tell you that I don't want to spend a whole lot of time, I want to have Walter, if you're there, Walter, to show this video right quick, because I want the council members to understand what this program is and the fact that I'm really just making sure that it's not just one person on the table. We want everybody to be involved in ensuring that this type of program is something that the city can get behind, the CRA can get behind, and the citizens of Riviera Beach can get behind. So if you can play that video right quick so that we can kind of let people understand how we are moving with this program. Mr. Bullock?
Our program is called Reclaim, so it's really a on-the-job training program where we take men and women that are being released from incarceration. So everyone's been released within about 30 or 90 days of entering the program. And so we do an assessment and we see, hey, is construction a field that you want to get into? They'll let us know, yes, this is something we want to do. And so what we've done is we partnered with our urban farmers and the CDC. And so we had a rehab project. And a part of that is the men and women come out, they'll be on the site for 4 days out of the week. And then 1 day of the week, they come in and we do some classroom, problem solving, decision making, and some of those things. And so they'll receive different trainings for electrical, carpentry, masonry, HVAC, landscaping, painting. It runs the whole gamut of basically kind of construction industry trades. And so from that, they'll stay on this program for about 10 to 12 weeks. While they're enhancing their employability skills and learning those trades, we're connecting with different employers outside of this program to be able to link them to. And so we're working on resumes and doing all those things, interviewing skills. We do mock interviews, and everyone's assigned a case manager. So at the culmination of this program, ideally they would be connected to an employer for some sustainable employment opportunities.
I would say any individual who's coming from a bad situation or a person of incarceration and looking for opportunity to build themselves and build their skills and, just give back to a community in which we all love and came from. This is a great opportunity for that.
I feel so much joy and so much excitement because of the simple fact I'm actually looking at the house that I first built for the first time, and with the skills I learned to be able to feel something proud of. And I want to continue. I'm going to continue to go on and go forward because this is what I love and this is what I enjoy. Because I could have an opportunity to be able to inspire others, to let them know that anything is possible. As long as you believe, as long as you be able to believe and know that you could be able to do the things you do. And this really touched my heart.
Basically taught me how to be a better person and help the community grow better.
These guys have developed a skill set that will carry them throughout their whole entire life. So prison is the farthest thing in their mind. That is not even an option going back. They're thinking bigger and better and bolder. They're thinking about entrepreneurship and how to do 12, 13, 15, 50 projects, how to get their general contractor's license, how to become a professional electrician. Their mindset has changed. And for me, that is ultimately the win.
People, with that being said, with that video being played, I just want to have the lasting words and the last part of it for Mr. Terry Booty, because he was the one who brought this information to the city. Miss Anita Jenkins was the one who actually made it happen for the city. And Mr. Bullock was the one who facilitated to make sure that this happened. Mr. Booty, could you just make sure that people understand what we're trying to do here?
Yes. Good afternoon. I apologize for the technical difficulties I'm having. So I called in. Number one, I just want to thank Commissioner Lanier and Anita Jenkins, Ori Bullard. This program is deeply personal for me. Riviera Beach is where I got my start. You guys have embraced the idea of Black leadership, Black ownership, Black economic empowerment. and I am a direct result of that. So we have an obligation as leaders to figure out how to solve the ailments and things that have challenged our community for decades. The collaborative approach to restoring communities and pumping resources into the West Side is a testament of what cities should be doing across the nation. I thank you for bearing with me as my friends and my colleagues send in public comment and support. But at the end of the day, it's really about the man. These men have gone through the traumatic experience of being mass incarcerated, being felt like they were worthless, and then ultimately being returning home without a skill set that ultimately gives them ability to be stakeholders and provide a path forward. The reason why the single family residential model is so important, it is a place that we can gather each day to just build each other up. So while you're learning how to paint, while you're learning how to fix a toilet or pull in a window, you're also working on those skills to be a better man and to be a better community stakeholder. It takes the energy and effort of all. We would not be successful without the detailed case management of Ori's staff. We wouldn't be successful without the oversight of a budgetarian like Ms. Jenkins. But at the end of the day, what I'm most proud of is that prison is no longer in sight for the men that work here in the city. Their mindset has shifted to that of entrepreneurship, to that of leadership, to that of activism. And so I just employ all of you guys to ask the tough questions, but ultimately put the resources behind the initiative so we can use this model to do all the work that's required in community. I thank you for your time.
And I'm going to say 3 or 4 things, and I'm going to be done with this. This is to eliminate blight. All of us from District 1 to District 5, all of us have slum and blight in our areas, and we're trying to make that look better for the city of Riviera Beach. Number 2, we're trying to decrease crime. If we get people who are coming out of jail and coming out of prison, give them opportunities and jobs, then we're going to decrease crime. Number 3, we're going to increase the property values in our areas and in our neighborhoods. And number 4, we're trying to get people, and given the fact that there are 40 million people and we're in the middle of a pandemic, that we're trying to offer jobs and opportunities to people so that they will not be able or be in a position to go back to prison or get any of that in their mind. We're trying to be able, as a city, as residents of this city, we're trying to give people second chances and opportunities so that, guess what? All of our neighborhoods look like Singer Island. Let me say it again. Ms. Botel, we want everybody. We want everything to look just like Singer Island. So yes, but that's what we're trying to accomplish here. And thank y'all so much for listening to this presentation.
Thank you. It's a wonderful project, Ms. Lanier, and I salute you, Mr. Bullard and Mr. Booty and anybody else who's on, and Ms. Jenkins, of course. And Ms. Jenkins, is this the housing that the Friends of the Riviera Beach Schools has offered to furnish?
Well, that will be the next house. So we're hoping
good.
And we have plans for our next one already. So you'll hear about that in the next week or so.
Well, they've done a beautiful job with this one, and I applaud you. It's great. You know how passionate I am about workforce development, so this is really taking it all the way. I mean, these guys come away with, and gals, I would hope. There are some women. I would hope
Yes.
some women.
And I want to say one thing, Ms. Botel. There is a lady who works with this program.
Good.
And she does, and let Ms. Jenkins say it, she does better than the man on the program.
Of course she does. Of course she does.
I was waiting for them to mention Lily because she handled landscaping, and we'll tell you later at another time about other projects. But the teams are fantastic, and I was so happy to see Twin be so photogenic, and he is so talented. So thank you for your help.
Great.
And all I want to say is that this is how we reimagine Riviera Beach.
Yes, right. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Okay, if nothing else,
Madam
any other
Chair.
comments? Sorry, Ms. Miller-Anderson, go ahead.
Yes, I just want to say I certainly appreciate this project coming forth to us. And as you eloquently stated, Ms. Lanier, all of the positives as to why we want to continue with doing things like this to help with decreasing the crime and just being able to reemploy people who have been formerly incarcerated. So I totally support it. As having a background, well, my husband has a background in construction. That is certainly an area where we can quickly employ people that have been formerly incarcerated. So I appreciate the project and it looks very good. I hope we can continue to duplicate it throughout the city. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, item number 13.
Resolution number 5820, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to appropriate fund balance in the Major Disaster Fund number 607-00271000 in the amount of $65,982.80 for Hurricane Irma debris removal, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to set up a budget for same and provide an effective date. The acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed. Madam Chair, members of the board, we do not have any public comments on this item.
Thank you. Would someone care to make a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
It was moved and seconded by both Councilwoman Lanier and Miller Anderson. So take your pick. Mr. Evans, did you want Mr. Sherman to present?
Yes, Madam Chair, if I can have the Finance Director, Mr. Randy Sherman, present this item, and Interim Public Works Director Terrence Bailey is available as well.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the item that was carried forward from the last meeting. There was a lot of discussion about these two invoices that have been presented to the city for payment. Mr. Bailey was able to go back, secure corrected invoices. If you remember, the invoice dates were 2017. We have now attached corrected invoices, copies of all the tickets, and a data dump that was provided by the contractor, which ties back to those invoices.
Thank you.
Take any questions, and I know Mr. Bailey is here to answer questions as well.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys getting this back to us, but the resolution provides that we're to set up a budget. What is that for? Why do we need a budget? Can't we just, I guess, pay and allocate it out of the disaster fund?
Yeah, we would, if you approve the item, we would actually set up a budget funded from the disaster fund and then pay the invoices against that appropriation.
Okay.
Anything else? Ms. Miller Anderson, anything from you?
No,
okay.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Votel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. Item number 14.
Resolution number 6520, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizes the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to appropriate fund balance in the Major Disaster Fund number 607-0027-1000 in the amount of $303,558 for sanitizing items, $47,300 for capital improvements, authorizing the Director of Finance and Administrative Services to set up a budget for same and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, the acceptance of public comments is
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, did you want Mr. Sherman to present this item?
Yes, Madam Chair, if the Director of Finance, Mr. Randy Sherman, and Director Terrence Bailey can present this item. Just to provide a little bit of context prior to the presentation, as we look to build out the models to safely return employees back to work, we did an inventory of all the items we had in stock, as well as the items that we needed to secure to be able to create the safety barriers to ensure that individuals can be safe in the workplace. The list enumerates a number of things that the city would need to acquire as part of returning back to work and getting us to some form of normality. So Mr. Sherman, Mr. Bailey, anything else to add to the presentation with regards to the request?
No, nothing from finance. Take any questions?
Mr. McCoy, and I have a question. Mr. McCoy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was looking at the breakdown of what these costs was. Can you give some insight on what's enhanced custodial for $15,000 a month? And that's the first question I have. What exactly is that, and who does that?
Director Bailey, if you want to get into the nuances as it relates to the items that are articulated in the document.
Yes, sir. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
All right. So enhanced custodial is bringing on additional assistance in our custodial team. As you know, COVID can last on surfaces for an extended period of time. This is manpower to go around high traffic areas, hallways, conference rooms, and wipe down door handles, wipe down communal spaces. Currently, we only have 2 full-time custodians and 3 part-time. So that enhanced custodial is, as it's stated, additional assistance in increasing our sanitation through wiping down with the appropriate products in all of the city's facilities.
Mr. McCoy.
So, Mr. Bailey, the custodial team, is that in-house?
Yes, sir.
So what exactly are we being asked for? Are we asked to provide funding for additional in-house personnel, or are we increasing the current hours of the personnel we already have?
No, sir. Please understand that we have multiple buildings around, and there are too many buildings for our current staff to take care of. You can imagine that in some high traffic spaces, the door handles and doorknobs are wiped down almost every 15 minutes. So between the 4 fire stations, all of the other buildings where city staff occupy, we're actually looking to bring in a custodial firm for a temporary period while we're in this COVID sort of peak as we are. And once we get to the other side and this pandemic slows down, we will not need those services anymore. So this would be an outside firm for a temporary period while we are dealing with COVID.
Okay, who's the firm?
We haven't selected a firm yet, so we'll go through a procurement process.
So this is going to go out to bid?
I'll be working with Ms. Pemsel on whether this is a straight hard bid or whether we look for qualifications. For something as, I don't want to say specialized, but as something in this nature, I think we would rather get the best firm for a good price than just the low bidder, because it is related to COVID and the safety of our employees. We will be really looking at qualifications more than price on this type of solicitation. But I'll be meeting with Ms. Pemsel to get into the specifics of the delivery model.
Well, I would like to know that. Just from looking at it, it's $180,000 from the year. Just from my understanding, that obviously would kind of at least exceed the threshold to go out for a public procurement process. Now, what I'm unsure of, and my second question is, if we've already authorized certain authorities under the pandemic state of emergency, why wouldn't this already be encompassed in the manager's authority? And why does this have to come before us? Because if I'm not mistaken, these are all pandemic related expenses according to the memo. And,
I'm sorry, Councilman.
Go ahead.
That is correct. We're utilizing monies from the Major Disaster Fund to be able to acquire these items. So it takes legislative approval to move money from that pot of money for us to be utilized for the activities and the items that we're looking to acquire here. So the authorization and the ability for the manager to still operate under the emergency declaration is still there, but however, to move the funding from that major disaster fund, we do need legislative approval to do so. But all these items, we will go through a competitive solicitation or quotation process to comply with what the procurement code calls for.
Follow up, last question.
Go ahead.
So when you say we're gonna take this or transfer money from the, I guess from the major disaster fund, are you speaking only of the 303,000?
The total, I think the 350,000, I believe.
350,858.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna take capital improvements out of that same major disaster fund for the cubicles and the other things like that. That's gonna be long term.
Yes, sir.
How so?
But, well, the reason, the rationale behind a lot of the things that we're doing is to create the additional spaces to be able to create the social distancing that's requiring. As it stands right now, if we continued on the same model, we just don't have the spaces to be able to accommodate the workforce in a safe manner. So that's why we're utilizing that pot of money for the purposes of building out some of those cube farms to accommodate moving some folks in areas where there's a high concentration of employees.
I understand the need. I'm just looking at the transaction. So my only concern, not even a concern, my only question was really merely, should everything come out of the major disaster fund and I guess a budget be created from that? Or, and what I'm seeing suggesting 47,000 is coming out of the major disaster fund and being set aside into the capital projects fund. So which is it, I guess, Mr. Sherman?
Now, the budgets would actually be established within the major disaster fund. We wouldn't actually be transferring the money. So we will set up both I'll call it an operational budget and then the capital budget.
Okay, thank you. But I certainly want to see a procurement regarding enhanced custodial, because obviously I wouldn't want anybody out taking care of COVID. Oh gosh. Well, I know there's some other concerns that I have about the custodial team that you mentioned, Mr. Bailey, but I imagine we'll probably have that discussion during budget time. So that's all I have. Thank you.
My very small question is, thank you, Mr. McCoy. My small question is Barracuda Bay open or opening? And is that why we need this ticket office screen to project for the future when it might be having customers?
That was when we did go through all the facilities and said conceivably what will we need to go ahead and open. That was one of the items that was considered an important element to safely be able to have folks occupy the facility. Now, there is not a time where we look to open it anytime soon, so there is certain elements here that may change and modify. It probably most likely will be less costly to the city, but when we did build out the list, there was an anticipation that things may start coming back online.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, Mr. McCoy.
Last question: does the pandemic pay come out of the disaster fund?
No, sir.
Where would that come from?
That would come out of the, well, depending on where the employees are housed in, but it would come out of the existing budget.
Okay, so don't we seek reimbursement for those items, or at least?
Yes, sir.
So why wouldn't it be something that we would draw down out of the disaster fund, since obviously the pandemic is essentially a disaster similar to us hiring outside labor?
Mr. Sherman, if you want to speak on that matter.
Yeah, when we actually get around to the point where we're filing for the reimbursements, and if you remember, we talked about the major disaster fund before for prior storms. We actually record the receivable and an expense over in the major disaster fund. So we track the actual projects that we've submitted with FEMA in that fund. But initially, all of those costs are charged to the individual departments. So until we get to the point where our FEMA requests have at least moved along and been accepted by FEMA. Everything is in essence charged to the, the home organizations of the individuals.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Thank you. Item number 15.
Resolution number 6620, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, authorizing issuance by the City of Riviera Beach Community Redevelopment Agency of its redevelopment refunding revenue note, Series 20A, in the principal amount not exceeding $13,500,000, and its taxable redevelopment refunding and improvement revenue note, Series 2020B, in the principal amount not exceeding $16,500,000 for the purpose of refinancing certain outstanding obligations and financing certain redevelopment projects and providing an effective date. Madam Chairman, Board, the acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Thank you. I think Mr. McCoy made the motion.
Second.
Thank you.
We need a presentation?
Evans, do you want, Mr. Evans?
Wait, I got a question.
Stop.
Yes.
I'm not calling on you. Go ahead, Mr. Sherman, please.
Yeah, in order for the CRA to issue debt, the city has to approve that as well as the, the entity that created the CRA. You have to authorize their issuance. So this is just the companion item that the CRA board approved at the previous meeting.
Unanimously, yes, thank you. Are there any other questions? Now, is that a flicker of an eye? What was that? What was that little?
It's a secret question. I don't have a question, Madam Chair.
You just wanted to pull my chain. All right, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Miller Anderson.
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier.
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy.
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson.
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Now, I believe we pulled item number 16, Mr. Evans, am I correct?
That is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Item number 17.
Resolution number 6920, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, requesting authorization to procure Dell laptop computers and docking stations using State of Florida contract number 432-20000 WSCA 14 ACS and contract code WNN 30 AGS in the amount of $165,050 from fund account 5011901564000 and provide an effective date. Madam Chair, members of the board, the acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Thank you. Would someone care to make a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Thank you. Would someone care to second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, do you want Mr. Parziale to make this presentation?
Yes, Madam Chair, but just as a point of personal privilege, I do want to say we got through that last item a lot faster than the CRA because of the efficiency of this council.
Yes,
So,
yeah, as opposed to the terrible inefficiency of that commission. Oy vey. Mr. Parziale.
Mr. Parziale.
Yes, good evening. Thank you. This resolution is to acquire laptop computers and docking stations to provide for the city in those cubicles that we heard about earlier to set up the docking stations, and also to allow our staff laptop computers when they work either offsite or remotely as a result, partially as a result of the COVID-19 issue. We were very fortunate when these incidents hit that we had some computers that were ready for surplus that we were able to pull back and repurpose during this situation. as well as finding 60 computers that were in a community center that were low-end computers, but they certainly served our purpose. So this is replacing 100 of those computers with 50 of the Intel 7 processors and 50 with Intel i5 processors. And that should support our staff. All of them will have LTE cards, which will help eliminate if we have home networks where that are inadequate and we have some upload and download speeds, that they'll have the AT&T network cards in them that they can wirelessly access the network. So this is a replacement and being able to issue computers for those, and under Mr. Evans' continuity of government and an ability to have staff work shifts at home or remotely when necessary to avoid any type of contamination or spread of the disease.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. McCoy?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Parzielli, for bringing this forward. Mr. Manager, so this item, I don't see where the money's coming from, but I would imagine since you guys are over in the public safety complex in District 3, it'll be coming out of the public sector dollars for District 3? For the
that would certainly be a preferred pot of money if that was available, Councilman.
I mean, city administration.
Hold on.
Wait, hold on. It seems like I've seen this movie before where this council person just said this isn't her money.
Councilman McCoy?
You just said it wasn't your money. Okay, so this is obviously, I imagine this coming out of capital dollars?
Yes, it is.
Can we associate something on a long-term, more permanent basis like this, Mr. Sherman, to disaster fund expenses? Probably not, I'm sure.
Hang on, okay. Yeah, we actually have that we're submitting as part of the annual appropriation for next year. And part of it again is more capital dollars for IT. In addition to, if you recall, in a previous meeting, we talked about the generators. So again, we're bringing some of those items forward, and that'll be part of the budget discussions.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Miller Anderson, anything from you?
No.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Before Mr. Parziale departs, I have a question that is not related necessarily to this item, but where do we stand now with regard to providing internet service for our school children?
We are waiting to hear back from the school district on that. Where they had the presentation and we haven't heard anything. I have a call in to the school district to see where they are. I know they have several projects that are going on simultaneously.
Okay. Mr. Evans.
Madam Chair and members of the board, I reluctantly would like to provide an announcement to you. This is probably the last meeting that Mr. Parzielli will be participating in. He will be retiring and moving on to his future home in an undisclosed location until I visit and go fishing with him. So we hate to see him go. He's been a great asset to the organization.
Wait. I make a motion that we not allow Mr. Parziale.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you will be sorely missed.
Thank you. He certainly is going to help us get somebody on board that understands the nuances and intricacies of our agency, as well as, our security concerns and making sure we keep the continuity of government. But it's been a pleasure to work alongside of him. Hate to see him go, but where he's going, the fish are running, and he doesn't want to continue to miss fishing season. So I do want to help him as much as possibly to transition into the next phase of his life. But he's been a great addition to the team, and I think it's only appropriate that we, give him a good sign off and tell him how much we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. It's been a pleasure working with all of you.
Round of applause.
City of Riviera Beach is a great place to work, and I'm glad I could add some value here while I was here. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, because I'm telling you something, Mr. Parizzelli, when I first came to the city, I didn't have no laptop. I didn't have a phone. I called him. I got a phone. I got a laptop. I said, I got some problem with the laptop. He met me at my office every single time I asked him to be able to help him to get everything done. So yeah, I'm really gonna miss you.
I miss you too. So.
Madam
right,
Chair.
Yes,
Madam
Ms.
Chair.
Miller Anderson.
Just want to say thank you to Mr. Parzielli, and I know he did come in on a very high note at a time when we really need someone. So I'm glad he stuck around this long. I thought we were going to run away at that point, but he stuck around and settled. So thank you, and I wish you the best of luck with your retirement.
Thank you, Ms. Miller Anderson.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 18.
Multimedia communication specialist candidate rehire. Madam Chair, members of the board, the acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed, and we do have public comment.
Okay, let's hear public comments.
So moved.
Second.
I think we're just discussing. Is this an item that calls for a vote, or is this just a discussion?
Yes, we're going to need action from the board. Yes.
You are, okay. In that case, Mr. McCoy, I think, made a motion and Ms. Lanier seconded, I think.
Other way around.
Oh,
Other
sorry.
way around, it's fine.
Thank you. Do we have a public comment, Madam Clerk?
We do, Madam Chair, members of the board. Ms. Hall?
The public comment comes from Michael Hudson, email address michaelhud@gmail.com. Dear Mayor and City Council, I'm really excited and looking forward to being a part of the City of Riviera Beach's media team. I feel that my experience and expertise in broadcast news, television production, and large-scale live events, audio-visual over the past 20 years has prepared me to hit the ground running in this latest endeavor. It would be an honor to be part of the great possibilities that exist in Riviera Beach and play a role in sharing the city's greatness with those within the city's borders and beyond. Thank you, and I look forward to meeting each of you. M. Hudson. Madam Chair, that's the end of public comment.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, did you want Ms. Young to make a presentation?
Yes, Madam Chair, Ms. Young will be making the presentation.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Eureka Young, Department of Human Resources. A former director ordered several drug tests from an employee. The employee refused to submit the results, and it was later determined by federal court it was an illegal seizure. And at this time, if there's any other questions, I direct it to legal.
Mr. McCoy.
Mr. Evans, so are we, I guess, are we being asked to offer an amendment to the agreement?
Yes, sir. And I would have to defer to legal, but basically there was a separation agreement that was executed by Mr. Hudson and the city of Riviera Beach with a terminology that prohibited him from seeking or obtaining reemployment with the city of Riviera Beach. We went through a national search process, and Mr. Hudson did apply, and the committee felt that he was the best candidate for the position. And so we've asked HR and legal to look at effectively what the agreement calls for. So in order to make Mr. Hudson an employee, it would result in the board looking to grant the striking of that particular provision in the separation agreement. Ms. Wynn, anything else you'd like to add?
Not at this time.
Mr. McCoy.
So where do we go from here? Is the motion that Councilwoman Lanier offered sufficient?
I think, Councilwoman Lanier, did you just say so moved as part of the discussion? Was there an actual motion?
No, it was a motion. No, it was, I mean, when I said so move, it was a motion to agree with the rehiring of this candidate.
So amend the agreement, I guess, is more appropriate.
That's what would occur, yes.
Okay. I see Ms. Busby is on. Does she have something additional?
No, she doesn't. I don't believe Ms. Busby is still on though. But she, no, she didn't work on this assignment.
I just seen a pop up. Okay.
I should say that
Did
I asked for additional information because I was concerned about why this person had been terminated, and I am totally satisfied with the response that I got, that this was not any fault of his, and that, you know, we should feel comfortable going ahead and making this decision, from my perspective anyway. Anything else?
Certainly, we know that all too well, so we can move forward.
Yes.
See, this was before my time, so Madam Clerk.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Good.
Item number 19.
Cedar Island update and request for direction. Madam Chair, the acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Thank you.
And we do have public comment.
Oh, do we need to make any, is this again just a discussion item, Mr. Evans, or do you need any?
I'm seeking direction from the board how we should proceed.
So do you need someone to make a motion, or do you want to wait
Yes.
till after the presentation?
I would need someone to make a motion just to hear the item.
So
Okay.
moved.
Would someone please second? Someone?
Second.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
normally with the discussion, don't we just go ahead and do the discussion and at the end of the discussion, make the motion for what the recommendation is?
Well,
'Cause we
Mr.
don't-
Evans, Mr.
On
Evans,
at this point.
yeah.
I mean, that's
why
what we've always done. I mean, even
That's
since Ms. Evans been here.
I think that's why I asked him what he wanted, how he wanted us to proceed. So, Mr. Evans, shall we hear the presentation first, and then somebody can actually make them? Okay,
Certainly.
that's fine. Go
I
ahead.
mean, because it just makes it kind of confusing.
Yeah,
Nobody really.
no, I agree. I don't know what we would, I'm not quite sure what the motion would have been. Go ahead, Mr. Evans.
I saw
All right.
the item he had attached, and so
We
that's
have public.
We have public
comments.
comment. Let's hear the public comment. Thank you, and then we'll see the presentation. Madam Clerk.
Madam Chair, prior to the public comment, can I get the maker of the motion or the second?
I think what we've decided is that we'll see the presentation, and then a specific motion will be made based on what we see and hear in the presentation.
I understand that, Madam Chair, but we did not dispose of the motion that was placed on the floor. So I need
Right.
someone to motion.
So would someone like to withdraw their motion so that we can have the presentation?
Yes, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Ms. Hall,
Public comment comes from Patricia Ben, PBEHN@pbcgov.org. Palm Beach County has a significant interest in Peanut Island. Millions of dollars have been invested through the county's Parks and Recreation Department for operational and maintenance of the island, as well as major habitat restoration projects on the island by the county's Department of Environmental Resources Management, ERM. The island also serves as a dredge material management area that provides fill material for ERM's habitat restoration efforts throughout the Lake Worth Lagoon. The county would have significant issues with a proposal for commercial uses and annexation. The Board of County Commissioners has made it clear in prior discussions that they are opposed to commercial uses on the island. The current future land use and zoning designations have no potential for commercial uses, and the implementing county ordinance 201-83 prohibits all commercial retail uses, including restaurants on the island. Should the city of Riviera Beach move forward with an annexation request, county staff will seek direction from the Board of County Commissioners on whether to object to the annexation. We would request that before taking action on an annexation, the City of Riviera Beach staff coordinates with Palm Beach County staff to discuss the impacts and related issues of such a request. The next public comment comes from Susan Bennett, sbennett10h@msn.com. With many challenges facing the city, at this time I urge the council to recognize this is not the time to take on a new money pit with a host of problems. There must be good reasons no one else is interested. We have enough on our plate, some of necessity, some opportunity, that deserves the city's energy and funding. Stick to all the basics we have obligation to now. Get what we have now in good order before taking on a big potential liability like this. Susan Bennett, 3000 North Ocean Drive. Madam Chair, that concludes public comment.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
can I offer a amended motion to temporarily postpone this item?
Sure.
Well, I'm not asking.
I know.
I'm offering.
I hear you. I said yes.
Let me make sure I say that to you, because
Yeah.
you would tell me, no, Mr. McCoy, you can't.
No, Mr. McCoy. You can do anything you like when it comes to making a motion. It's difficult to make a negative motion, but this one sounds like it's a positive motion that you would like to table this item or postpone it.
Oh gosh.
But here I go again.
I said temporarily postpone. That means indefinitely, and it doesn't have to appear back on the next agenda.
Okay. Does anyone care to second Mr. McCoy's motion?
I'll second it.
Okay. A discussion. Mr. McCoy?
My only concern is I'm listening to an employee of another government agency express some, I don't know if this is personal concerns or her concerns of her department, but in any event, I don't even want us to even proceed, because obviously there's a disconnect, because I heard the word mention of annexation and obviously some challenges. So I would like to see that whatever it is, that it's resolved at the staff level first, because I was a little surprised, and I don't know if the other members or even staff was expecting a question like that from a county department that kind of contains such pessimism, if I can say that word. So that's why I offered.
Okay.
I second that motion because I wanted to hear some discussion, and I do want to hear from Mr. Evans on this issue, but I do not want to commit to the unknown. Put it that way.
Okay, Mr. Evans?
Yes, Madam Chair and members of the board. City staff was not aware of that individual's complaint or concern, nor did they reach out to city administration to communicate the issue when the item was placed on the agenda. From what I've heard through conversations that we've had with county executives, is that the county did back out and was going to allow for the city to move forward with executing a term sheet as it relates to the potential of acquiring the 4.3 acres. The reason that the city of Riviera Beach got involved to start off with is because there was a stalemate between the county and the Port of Palm Beach, and we came in to say there is no reason why this particular asset in Riviera Beach, for all intent and purpose, should be in the condition that it's in. As it relates to the plans and what the city's intent is behind that, that is still not flushed out. Obviously, we know that there's some restrictions in the ordinance and the land use and the zoning and what have you. And I think we made it abundantly clear that we would look to promote ecotourism. We would look to renovate and revitalize those facilities as they have a significant historical significance to the area. Additionally, we would look to have a private sector partner, or a public sector partner for that matter, to facilitate the construction or reconstruction of any facilities. But if it was something that the county was interested in to renovate the facilities in collaboration with the city of Riviera Beach, we certainly would be interested in working with them. We just don't want a situation similar to that of Phil Foster Park, where we get calls or communications that our residents cannot get access, and there are certain times where individuals have to come and the park is full. So this is our way of getting involved and seeing something through to the end. I have every belief that there is individuals and grant funding that is available to us through multiple sources to facilitate the renovation of these historical facilities within our community. So if it is the board's pleasure to postpone it, I will personally reach out to county administration. The intent behind this item was to see if the appetite is still there from the council to enter into conversations about the potential term sheet. The Port of Palm Beach did provide us information as it relates to a proposed term sheet. As it was written, it is a non-starter for us, as it has abrogated all the risks to the city. So this was basically us to see if the board still had the desire to move forward with conversations and discussions. But if it is the board's desires in the abundance of caution for us to reach out to the county to see if there's a way to effectively work out an arrangement that facilitates something that we all, the Port of Palm Beach, Riviera Beach, and the county can conceivably agree with, that would be the ideal proposal. However, we do want a seat at the table as it relates to what happens on that island and access to that particular facility.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I agree, and I think that all the council members at this point agree with moving forward anyway. But because I second the motion to postpone this and to table this until they have some conversations with the county, I really want to be able to do that. This is going to take a lot of time and resources from the city if they're going to leave the city as the one holding the bag for this. So I want to be able to make sure that the city is moving forward with this, period, because I agree with Mr. Evans with this, but to also make sure that we're not holding the entire bag for the project.
Thank you.
We just need to know what we're getting into with this. That's all I'm asking.
Right. Mr. McCoy.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. So, members, if I can remind you, there never was a vote of us actually taking any action in agreement. This was presented to us in workshops. In fact, it was the October workshop. However, we did vote on our legislative priorities that included us seeking appropriations from the legislature. But from the initial onset, I was vehemently opposed to this. And one of the reasons was because we have several other capital needs. And if you can remember, one of the things I said, I don't want a cent of city taxpayer dollars spent. And then obviously the manager had the alternative option of seeking some grant funding and some other means. But in no means have I ever expressed my intentions of supporting something like this when we have a number of resources that are, or a number of items on the mainland that needs our attention and resources. But I don't support this item, and I didn't support it originally. So just to kind of put it in perspective, it's not representative of me to go and seek something like this. I really want to see if we can come up with a solution to my Morrow Heights road project, because I can't stop getting enough calls. And I mean, that is something that I want to see us discuss, not Peanut Island, which has all of these limitations, of which I didn't even realize. And the point that I wanted to make in offering a motion to postpone was clearly the comments that I heard from whoever the speaker was that had the email address handle of pbcgov.org would kind of suggest to me that everybody's not on the same page. And I don't want us to continue here having this discussion. And I don't know if that's the parks director or what position she holds, but in any event, I don't know what we can offer when we clearly got a county employee putting in a public comment to our meeting to say all of the reasons why it shouldn't occur. But I don't want that to be a decision that I have to make, or any of us, but I didn't support it in the beginning and I don't support it now. And that's where I'm at, to temporarily postpone it.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, if I can ask you, what was the person who wrote that? Was there a title or a position of that person listed as a county worker, or was this just a Do we know anything about this person and his or her? Was it a woman? I think it was a woman.
Madam Chair, members of the board, the email came from Patricia Ben, and looks like her title is director.
Say that again. What director?
Planning.
Planning. Okay.
Planning.
Well, it seems to me that it couldn't hurt for Mr. Evans to explore this with the county a little bit further and see what their thinking is now, and you know, give us a little more time and figure out what this person's role is and what the objections are. So I'm going to support Mr. McCoy's motion myself. Anyone else?
Madam Chair? Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes. And Ms. Miller Anderson.
I mean, I still fully support it. However, you know, if it comes down to having to prioritize, and if Mr. Evans is saying there are grant funds that we could tap into, as long as it's not putting a heavy burden on the city, because we do know we have a lot of capital projects that need to be done, our city facilities and everything else. But I do know that there has been, and Mr. Lawson may be able to weigh in a little more because he's attended those port meetings. I know the county, you know, that there was some contention behind those discussions all along. So I would not have, I'm not surprised to hear of the comment that was made from the county, to be quite honest. So, I mean, I would certainly like to hear more information. And at the same time, I would like to, you know, see what we can do and where it falls in the priority list. But I don't want to just take it off the table completely just based on that comment that was made, nor knowing that we do have other projects, especially if we can get grant funding to, you know, take care of a lot of it. So I'm fine with postponing it now.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I mean, from the beginning, I said that I support this issue. I second the motion with Councilman McCoy, because he said that he did support it from the beginning, and I knew that. But I did support his motion in terms of postponing or suspending this until we get more information. Just like the CRA needs to pivot on phase 2 for a while, this needs to be in suspension mode as well to have some conversation going forward. I don't want to kill it, but as he suggested in his motion, we're going to suspend this to be able to have more conversations about how we move forward with it.
So, thank you. I couldn't see anybody when that thing was up on the screen. So what we're saying is that we are asking Mr. Evans to have more conversations with the county to see what's the county's position. Is that, Mr. McCoy, I know that you're saying just postpone it.
Well, that's indefinite. And obviously Patricia or Pamela or whatever her name was, I mean, I've never seen anybody from another government agency send us something to submit a public comment like that. But in any event, I would ask Mr. Evans to look into it with the city administration, because obviously there may be a situation where she's operating completely separate from county administration. I don't know what it is, but I think that's something Mr. Evans can kind of follow up with. But in any event, I still kind of maintain my position, but I don't think any further conversation is necessary from us, and the manager can kind of bring us something back a little more, substantive in nature. Now, I did like the part about annexation, because I have some ideas about annexing something else within the city boundaries. So if you want to talk about the industrial area on Gardens Road or some of the trailer parks, then, I'm all for that. Or even public storage on Blue Heron and Gardens Road. So that's another conversation. But I like annexation with some of the industrial areas in the city.
I thought, Councilman McCoy, I thought we were working across the aisle. If you gave me the island, I was going to go after the industrial parcels. But
okay. Well, that day may come. That day may come. All right, we have a motion on the floor to put this off. Could we have a vote on that, Madam Clerk?
Madam Chair, I have a question.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. So our direction is to postpone this discussion indefinitely, waiting on staff to come back with concrete information with discussions from the county and the board.
Right. Yes, my understanding, yes.
Councilman McCoy, that's your motion?
Yes.
Thank you, Councilman McCoy. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
Item number 20.
Census 2020 Challenge. Madam Chair, members of the board, the acceptance of public comments on this item is now closed.
Are there any public comment cards?
Not as of now, Madam Chair.
Mr. Evans, did you want Ms. Noel to make this presentation?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. If I can have Assistant to the City Manager, Ms. Marcia Noel, present this item.
All right, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the council, and everyone that's joined us this evening. So I brought before you this item because I know it's of great interest among you with regard to the census challenge. It's been discussed a couple of times, and after talking with Ms. Miller Anderson, I've kind of come up with just a structure based off of conversations that you've had to see if it's something that you would like to move forward with, gain consensus among, and start with as your council census challenge. And so if you would like, I can kind of briefly go through what this idea is, more so in detail. And then if you have any questions or what have you, I'm more than happy to assist with that. But the goal is to, I guess, come up with whether or not if this is going to be something you'd like to take on.
Okay.
All right, so the census challenge. So I did send you all an email in the past just with some details regarding this idea. But basically what this is that each council person is going to be responsible for tracks, census tracks, based off of the census response rate map. And those tracks are basically smaller sections of the city that the census is broken up. And essentially by being responsible for your respective tracks, you'll be able to track your progress in terms of your challenge. Your challenge will essentially consist of any activity that you would like to implement to boost your numbers, to boost your track numbers. Because by the end of the day, by boosting your numbers through the various tracks, you're essentially boosting the overall numbers for the census. With that being said, the time frame we're looking at, you can start as early as tomorrow. And then in terms of when it would close, if you want to close on the actual deadline of the census, you can do that. Initially, I suggested October 6th, which was based off of the deadline I understood at the time, which was going to be, I think, October 30th. But from what I understand, it's possible that the deadline has changed to September 30th. I have contacted our census rep, Sandy Goodman, to confirm whether or not if that's true. So with that being said, you may actually want to consider having your deadline, if you want enough time for about 2 months, to have your deadline for your challenge to be September 30th, unless things change and it is actually October 30th. And then in terms of your measure of success, so basically we would record the response rates for your respective tracks on the day that your census challenge starts. And then by the end of the challenge, we'll see where your response rates are for your track. And essentially the winner is the one that has the highest, well, it'll actually be by percent increase. So whoever has the highest percent increase for their respective tracks will essentially win. And you get to determine what your prize is. And so that's probably gonna be part of your discussion tonight, is what would the winner essentially get. And of course, the Census Outreach Task Force stands ready to support in any way, shape, or form with ideas, support to assist you in facilitating your activities. With that being said, I can also kind of show you what your tracks will look like. I did pull up the map on the website if you want me to share my screen and kind of give you an idea of what it looks like.
I know what mine are.
Okay, great. So that's all I have.
I have a question. Go ahead and do it anyway. Yeah.
I have one too, because Noelle had joined me on my town hall last Thursday, and she's right. It was supposed to be in October, but they have put the deadline to September 30th now. So when we talked about this census thing, we talked about the fact that how important it was for the city, how important it was for, because we think about the census as like something you fill out and that's it, but it really is. It comes down to dollars and cents for us. It really does. So she is right when she says that we really have to be very conscious and very forward thinking in terms of September 30th is like in the next 60 days. That's it. So we really need to be able to. And then when she says, "What do you guys want in terms of a prize?" Now, then that's another story right there. So I'm gonna tell you later on what I want. What I want for my prize when I win this thing right here.
Marcia, I have a question about the tracts. I've got 5.09 and 5.12, which are the east and west sides of Singer Island, pretty much. And when I look to see, maybe you can advise me about who I should contact to get this information. It's easy enough to find what the response rate is now for those two tracks. I wanted to look at some of the demographic information from 2010, and I can find that for 5.09, but there is no 5.12 in 2010. Did they change the tracks in the last 10 years?
That I'm not sure. I'd have to ask.
Okay. I really would like to look at what the demographics were and how things looked in 2010 in Census Tract 5.12, which I just cannot find. When you see the whole list in the website of all the census tracts, and that one is just missing from 2010. It's there in 2020. Did I say that right before 20? It's there in 2020. It's not there in 2010. So anything you give me with that would be appreciated.
I just want to know what census tract is Councilman Lawson is, because it need to be merged with mine, because I know if he on the case that really, I'm gonna win this whole thing right here. So if I can get Councilman Lawson track to be a part
Why
of.
don't you review those, Miss Noel, so we are all on the same page with who's on
Yes,
whose team?
please put it up so we know.
Okay, all right, that's fine. All right, let me go ahead and pull that up just a second.
Well, Madam Chair, if I can say something while she's pulling it up, I don't know if that's fair since Councilman Lawson runs a daytime show, on CBS, and everybody, east of the Mississippi know who Councilman Douglas Lawson is.
Oh, that means everybody has their game.
Oh,
we all
go
campaigned before, right? Haven't we all campaigned before?
Yeah, but still, I need a Councilman Lawson.
Campaign. You can. I guess that's why he wanted to stay out of it initially, right?
That's exactly why.
Man, know how to campaign. I need him on my side, people.
All right, so there is the map. I'm actually gonna bring that in just a little bit so we can see the entire city. All right. Okay, let's go up. Okay. All right, I hope you can see that. I'm sorry, I'm trying to maneuver here just to make sure I can look at both the list of the tracks that everyone's assigned, while also showing the map. So as you can tell, so if we were to look at who would like to know their tracks in particular, or do you want me to just go off my list?
Just use your list.
Just go through the list.
We have, all right, so for the mayor, we have 10.03 and 13.02. So if he's 10.03, this is the mayor's track, and then 13.02 is going to be, I think, just under that. And when you hover over that particular track, you'll see what exactly it is. I think he is, oh, he's close by, come on.
So that appears to be.
So he would have that track. Yep, he'd have this track here and that track, and then you have 10.04 and 13.01. So 10.04 here, and this is for Councilman McCoy. So this is your track, and then 13.01 is going to be just not too far. And there you go. So it's actually right next to each other. Now, as I said, the way that we have our districts organized is a bit different than obviously how these tracks are laid out. So I did the best I could selecting tracks that actually touch your district, though it actually may touch other districts as well. So for each district representative, your tracks are likely going to be next to each other, with exception to the mayor and Councilman Lawson, who are at large. Their districts are pretty spread out just to represent the different sides of the community. For Councilwoman Miller Anderson, for 12 and 15, it's going to be on this side here. So you have track 12, and then you have track 15 right below. So you just have that section just east of Singer Island. For Councilwoman Lanier, you have 1002 and 1403. So you have 1002 right here, and then you have 1403 just next to it. For Councilwoman Botel, 1509 and 1512, Singer Island. So they're right next to each other, one on top and then one just at the bottom. And then finally, you have Councilman Lawson at 15.13, which is going to be in this area here, just below Dr. Botel's tracks. And then you have,
that's where Julie is.
What?
And then,
what'd you say, Julie?
5.1.
That's where Julie is.
Wait a minute, wait. What, 13? Lawson's got 13. What's 13? Where's 13?
5.13 over there where you are, Julie.
Councilman Lawson has 15.13 and
Yeah,
14.04.
But where are you pointing? Where's 1513? I thought that was, is that Palm Beach Shores? Isn't that Palm Beach Shore down there? That's not Riviera Beach.
All right.
They officially kicked me out of the city. Marsha has just officially kicked me out of Riviera Beach. Thank you, Marsha. Just know I appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now that I'm not standing for it right now.
Now, wait a minute. Go up a little bit. Is it 5.12? 5.12 is right above. So where does 5.12 stop? I thought 5.12 was all of the west side of Singer Island. That is in Riviera Beach.
So right. So you have 5.12 just here. See where my mouse is?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then this also is your track 5.09.
Yeah, I know, but go down. Where's 5.13?
Yeah.
It looks like it's Palm Beach
There you
Shores.
go. It does, but this is how the census has it laid out. And so if we're responsible for that piece here, then.
We'll see you, Commissioner.
So that's just even the playing field there. So Lawson, do you know contacts over in Palm Beach Shores?
So where's 14.04?
Where's 14? So 14. Okay, 14.04. I know it's in this region here.
Yes.
There
it is. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that?
I thought she was going to put me in gardens next.
I think that's part of yours, Miss Lanier.
Yeah, that's okay.
You
I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
Right. You see that? Okay. All right. And I think I just went through all the tracks. So, get familiar with this, of course, just so that you can kind of track how your tracks are going.
Is there a place where you could, I'm really still curious about this Palm Beach Shores thing. Is there a place where you can look up the geographical boundaries of the tracks other than on a map?
Well, I would have to look at a different map because
I could look it up.
Yeah, I would compare. Yeah, I would compare them.
But what she's going across though, Julie, is that's actually the census map that's on their website.
Right. Yeah.
No, I know. I've been playing with it, but I didn't realize when I looked at it, I thought that 5.12 was the west side of Singer Island in Riviera Beach. I didn't realize that there was a 513 that looks like Palm Beach Shores. So I just wanted
part of Palm Beach Shores is a part of our census tracts, just like a part of, if you go out west and you go like Woodbine and you almost in North Lake, a part of that is our census tract as well.
Okay. Well, Doug's going to have to start to work with Mr. Mayor Fires, I guess, in Palm Beach Shores.
It's just to level the playing field. That's all, right?
Yeah,
See?
It does. Because Miss Miller Anderson is right. It levels the playing field.
Miss Noel, can you
He
please
may
find
have
out?
contacts over there too.
Miss Noel, can you please?
No, you might be right, Miss Miller Anderson. You might be right. He might have contacts over there too. Right.
All right. Thanks, Miss Noel. Is there anything else, or do you want us to discuss gifts other than crowing rights? I mean, are we looking to come up with some prize, or can we let that? And what do you want us to do here?
Yep. So
Hey,
if
look.
you're following the time frame to begin tomorrow and end September 30th, you're okay with how the tracks have been assigned, you're, you know, and you come up with a prize, you can say, hey, we're good to go with that and get it going. And I can start recording your respective tracks tomorrow so that we have something to compare to by the end of your challenge.
Well, I started already, so I think we should have
No?
started last week. I mean, really, I've already made
Well,
improvements. That means you're not going to count. My improvements of the last 2 weeks are not going to count. That's not fair.
Thank you for all that you've done, Dr. Botel, for all of us.
Yeah, right. Mr. McCoy, did you
Okay,
have a
thank you.
comment?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate it, and I'm very enthusiastic up until I get to Congress, right? Because those gated communities over there do not let anybody in. Okay, so even if I have an
Hey,
appointment,
campaign, you got to get in there some kind of way.
Hey.
they call the cops on me then.
Hey, but Mr. McCoy, you won your district, so you was everywhere, man. You won your district.
Oh, say that again because I got some people watching that think they may be interested.
Mr. McCoy won
Yeah,
his
I know.
district.
Okay, thank you. But
Councilman
I'm
McCoy,
very.
you want me to handle the gated communities for you, Councilman McCoy?
That's all right. I'm certainly. I couldn't quite see it, but I just hope I don't have all gated communities because then I don't want to be out. I'm definitely not going to be out there at night because we know what happens to black men in gated communities at night, and I don't want to.
Why you gotta go at night?
District 3 that I have the biggest district in the city. So don't come crying now.
It's based on population, so don't start. You got industrial area.
All right, we good.
All right. So I think, from my point of view, bragging rights will be sufficient. I'm white,
Yeah, that's fine for me.
I don't know how the rest of you feel, but,
You're right. You're right, Madam Chair. They don't call it District 1 for nothing.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Noel. You've done an excellent job of challenging us
Thank
to
you.
You're welcome.
get out there. And I would like to know about that 5.12 from 2010, if you can follow up on that. Yeah, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Right.
I have one question.
Yes, please go ahead.
For you and Mr. Lawson doing the follow-up with the, is it Commissioner Lambert that's doing something, the competition that you?
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah,
so hopefully that will be able to help you all with
Yeah.
your numbers. And when does that end?
I think it ends when the census, same thing, same issue that we're having with regard to, we don't know when the census is going to end. So I think it ends probably early October as it stands now, but did you get a date from them, Doug?
Yeah, it's scheduled to end the last day of the census. So
Yeah.
if they moved it to September 30th, it's going to be the 30th or October 6th, whichever day Ms. Noel confirms.
Ms. Noel, I just wanted to add, maybe after every city council meeting at the end, can you kind of give us update as to, maybe you said that, but an update as to what everybody's numbers are? We don't want to wait till the whole 60 days go by and then nobody knows where they stand.
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Item number 21. Mr. Evans, you want Ms. Young to
City
handle
Manager's
this?
evaluation. Madam Chair, members of the board, the acceptance of public comment on this item is now closed.
Are there any public comments?
Not at this time, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Young?
Good evening again, Council. I am here to request item for discussion is the acceptance of the city manager's annual evaluation. In accordance with Section 2, subsection C of the manager's contract, performance evaluation, the city council is required to review the manager's performance at least annually. Most recently, you all submitted your review of the manager's performance, and now I will go and read off the categories of the evaluations with the total of each category.
Okay, so let me stop right now because I don't want to start down this process, and I have some procedural questions to ask. And before you start reading scores or anything, I'm very well of what the contract calls for, but I have my scores in draft form, which I didn't submit. And that goes to my question of how did we get here and why are we placing this on the agenda at this point? Because the contract doesn't provide that this is the manner in which the evaluations are to be submitted. So I would ask Ms. Young, since you've already familiarized yourself with the contract.
The contract, and I would ask Ms. Nguyen if also to chime in, indicates that the manager is to be evaluated. The manager in early May reminded the council of his upcoming evaluation by a memorandum highlighting his accomplishments. And there was a date of to submit the evaluations to HR in order to be placed on the agenda.
Wait, stop right there. So here's my concern. Who creates the date that we need to submit in the process thereafter? The contract only provides that we perform an evaluation. And I'm only saying this because of two reasons. First reason is I look back and there's never been a case where you formally submit scores onto the agenda. That's the first time. And then secondly, if I'm going to submit any kind of evaluation of anybody, wouldn't it be proper for us to actually review this with the person, similar to how I'm sure Mr. Evans would appreciate this is related to a due process hearing? And I only am reminded, and I was going to send mine in, but when I see what happened and I'm not suggesting this by no means, but what happened at the city of Pahokee with their manager just recently is like, once you submit or even meet with your manager, you're supposed to have an opportunity to talk about the performance, because I don't want to misrepresent what I believe is a weakness or even a strong point without even first conferring with the manager. So is this something that you as HR suggested that we do or move forward with? Because this is not provided for specifically in the contract to move forward in this process. So I see a couple people trying to respond.
Yeah, Ms. Anthony has something to say first, then Mr. Evans. Ms. Anthony?
Okay, Madam Chair, members of the board, I only see two of you all up on the screen.
Oh, thank you.
Third person on the screen to constitute a quorum.
Mr. Lawson or Ms. Linnet, thank you. Thank you. Mr. Evans.
Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair, with regards to the evaluation of the city manager, in most municipalities, and I would say most, especially those with credentialed managers, the evaluations are done in public settings. The information is tallied and then it is brought before the public, because it is essentially the only opportunity that you all collectively have an opportunity to provide insight, perspective, guidance, direction as it relates to the performance of the manager. In the event that individual evaluations were done, there's no document or no proof with regards to for public consumption as it relates to the manager's performance, whether it's poor performance or excellent performance, etc. There's no mechanism that facilitates it in a public setting. It is, since I've been a manager, and every manager that I have worked for, their evaluations have all been in public settings. And so the intent behind this item is to bring forward the total tabulation of what the score is, for all of you to see the comments that each of you put in the evaluation, and then provide any feedback and to accept the evaluation that was conducted. So basically checking off the fact that the council did in fact perform the evaluation.
Well, let me go ahead and respond to that. You started off by saying most municipalities, and sir, that is not what has happened in Riviera Beach. And there was no guidance in your contract that actually necessitated that. That's the process. And then further, I think I owe you as a professional an opportunity to have a discussion with you regarding my concerns of your performance, because maybe I'm misunderstanding, or perhaps it's something that may not be, I have full information on. The other point that I wanted to make was, and I spoke to Ms. Nguyen regarding this issue specifically, and also her contract, was that I had some outstanding questions of legal questions. So that I'm resolving on that end. But in any event, everything you're suggesting, I don't have a problem with doing it in public, but I think the prescribed method of us now first presenting for these scores, which I kind of deliberately tried to not look at, even though I've seen that the other members have kind of already submitted their scores. But in any event, it wouldn't be an evaluation that I think is, I think, a fair process until I've actually had an opportunity to share my concerns about, regarding performance ahead of that. Because what this ultimately presents is now there's political pressure for me to turn around and support something that the other members done, and I don't think that that's where it is. But I'm gonna tell you one thing: I'm not moved by political pressure, because I mean I fought to get here and I wasn't given anything. So I want to make sure that my process in which I establish is something that's not made up on the whim, be it by the manager or even HR for that matter. But clearly, it only provides that we do it. It doesn't provide that we bring it forth and submit it to the city council for the vote or decision or anything for that matter. Is that we do it. So, Mr. Evans, I respectfully disagree with your assertion that most municipalities, because clearly, historically, if you go back and look, it's never been done in this process, and it always was a meeting ahead of public presentation.
Madam Chair, if I may, with regards to just because we haven't done it doesn't mean that it's not appropriate practice. And the International City County Management Association, as well as the Florida City County Management Association, encourages, and most of the 412 municipalities in the state of Florida do have public evaluations of the administrator. If they are done in private, the information is still subject to public records, but then it doesn't give the board an opportunity to have that discussion holistically. As it relates to the evaluation, some of your colleagues have met with me before they did finalize the evaluation. So that opportunity is still available to any of the council members before they completed their evaluation scores. So I think, in the abundance of transparency, it is only a good thing to bring the evaluation forward to be able to see the strengths, weaknesses, and areas for improvement, and having the board discuss it.
Mr. Evans, I'm glad you mentioned that, but since you want to be so candid with it, I was really asking for some direction, and I was waiting on legal to provide some direction regarding the pandemic pay policy. Because if the expectation is for us to take any action, I mean, we have to be very transparent and open with it, because I literally disagree with the pandemic pay policy, and I think I've shared this with you personally and also publicly in a meeting. But obviously, I was hoping that we can get to a point where we resolve these issues, and perhaps Project McCoy is mistaken. It's not an issue, and it's legally defensible, and that's not something that I need to include in there. But that's my biggest concern. I don't have a problem with it not being public, but so long as it's in draft form, it's not public. But I wanted to welcome an opportunity to discuss it with you, and also see how we can move forward, if I'm just mistaken, or if that's something that currently exists as something that I believe was probably premature, and I'm saying that for lack of better words. So I mean, most municipalities doesn't apply to what we've seen, in absent of any specific direction by the body. I mean, obviously you can make that argument, but I mean, in no event is my scores going to be now included in this, since you've already created a tally that has already averaged out all of the members except for me. But based on the contract, there's no provision that we do it in this fashion. So I'm a little confused as to what happens next. And I don't have a problem with meeting you. I think I probably, besides Dr. Botel, call you the most. So yeah,
there's a couple of calls from everybody.
Okay.
Mr. Evans, you're not asking us to make any motion, to accept anything, change anything. This was for public information.
Yeah, just primarily to tell you that here's the evaluation scores. This is the tally, and for the board to basically accept the evaluation as completed.
Okay.
Because my concern is, if the evaluation was not done on my side, then it's a breach of the agreement. And so I wanted to make sure that the evaluation was conducted, and we wanted to have the evaluation.
We lost your audio.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we wanted to have the evaluation last meeting, but we did provide additional time to have conversations with certain council members and to get the scores in and tallied. So I'm not opposed to what the next phase of the evaluation and modifying that, but I do think in some form or some fashion, it should be certain elements concerning the evaluation should be available for public consumption.
Certain elements absent of mine, is that what you're suggesting?
No, sir.
Mr. McCoy, it sounds to me like you want an opportunity to meet with the city manager and discuss his evaluation. I did that.
Hotel. I'm
I know. One more time. I shouldn't. Well, then what is it you want?
I was very clear, but you always like to summarize.
I'm trying to understand your position, so I was rephrasing it to be sure that I understand it. Clearly, I don't. So what is it that you want?
Okay, I wanted to see exactly how this process was predicated. Was there the city manager's request to bring this forward? Was there the contract? You know, was this best practices? Obviously, that's what he kind of suggests, or historical practices, which is in any event different.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may, historically, this is best practices, one. And two, I've heard this board say on numerous occasions, even the evaluation of the executive director of the CRA and when the last time that had been completed. So this shows the public that you've in fact completed the evaluation process. And so in subsequent years, there will be further evaluations of any and all city managers moving forward. So that is just being able to say that the evaluation is completed and move on from that point.
I just want
Mr. Lawson and then Ms. Lanier.
So thank you, Madam Chair. Councilman McCoy, I'm just trying to understand to your point, the concern that you have with this process, because I think that we all meet with Mr. Evans on a regular basis, and based upon the evaluation that he put out and that was requested to be returned to him, I think we all have the opportunity to discuss our concerns and looking at the scores. I did review the scores, and I've had constant conversation with Mr. Evans and also reviewed some of my concerns and issues that I've had in the past with him and outlined them in his annual report that's outlined in the contract. So I'm lost as to what your concern is, Councilman McCoy, and I want us to make sure we're on the same page.
If I may respond.
Go right ahead.
Okay.
I would do it for you, but you know, that works out.
I know. And let me help the gentleman from the 5th District. You're not lost because of my response or because of what I'm doing. So I just want an opportunity to meet with the manager and kind of lay out my personal concerns because it may be a lot or it may be absolutely nothing. But I want to put specifically, aside from the streets that need to be done and the shootings and the significant incident reports, my personal critique of his performance, because the voters do it for us every 3 years. In fact, I think they do it for us every meeting that they send in public comments that aren't always friendly. So I wanted to, as a professional, sit down and talk to him because I don't want to I guess I don't want to be wrong in assuming anything, and I want to kind of have a gentleman's conversation about it, and that's what I really was looking for. But I was surprised when a couple of weeks ago I got the call from the manager's office that this item was to be placed on the agenda, when clearly that's not how it actually occurred in the past. So
Madam Chair, just as follow up to that, and that was actually what I was looking for. So to that point, is this something that the council would want to indulge moving forward with our executive staff, Ms. Wynn, Mr. Evans, and our director of our CRA? Do we want to have one-on-one sit downs prior to these agenda items and have it added to our contracts and our discussions with our staff? Because I can agree with Councilman McCoy in regards to having a sit down and seeing if this is a requirement that we include, because I think off the record, essentially all of us have had sit downs, but I think the verbiage would need to be outlined so that we're on the same page as a council.
Well, I had a sit down with the manager because I think that's the proper way to conduct business. If you're going to evaluate someone, I had questions, I had concerns, I had little complaints, not some which were not insignificant. And so I felt it important for me to sit down with the city manager before I presented my scores to the HR department. I would think that it would be incumbent on each one of us to set up a meeting with Mr. Evans. Since that hasn't been done, it might be appropriate, not that I would want to put words in Mr. McCoy's mouth, but it might be appropriate that we postpone this item until Mr. McCoy has an opportunity to sit down with Mr. Evans and have that conversation, or anyone else who has not had that opportunity to have that conversation for that matter.
Madam Chair.
That was my point, Madam Chair, if I could just kind of respond to that. That was before we actually get a final score and tally, giving Councilman McCoy the opportunity to sit down with Mr. Evans so that those scores can be incorporated into this tally that's given to us, number one. And then number two, to make it official, because to your point, you feel like that's the general practice that you would sit down with your staff, but that's not what's outlined in the contract. So that we can be crystal clear that we actually have that outlined as a requirement, that a one-on-one sit down is required prior to a review being done. I think that'd be something that we can incorporate into all our executive staffs and report directly to us. Because Mr. Evans meets with his staff on a daily, weekly basis. So we would want to at least meet with our direct hires at least, once a year, every 6 months, to discuss and review their process of over the year.
Thank you. Ms. Miller Anderson.
Ms. Lanier, I think, was next, but I did want to.
I'm sorry. I was
hearing the contract, but I'll hold on until Lanier goes.
Go ahead, Ms. Lanier.
I just wanted to say, and I agree with both Mr. McCoy and Mr. Lawson in terms of not only just for the city manager, but for the attorney and for the CRA director. These are the only positions. There are over 400 people who work for the city of Riviera Beach. These are the only 3 positions that we have a say-so in terms of evaluations and in terms of how they are evaluated. So if we need to speak with each of these individuals, those 3 individuals, before we come to publicly to discuss it, then I have no problem with that. I have no problem with having the ability to, and I understand Mr. Evans's position is that it has to be done. It has to come before the council, and I'm sure his position was, I don't want to be in violation of what the contract says. So that's all understood, but we can easily remedy that by ensuring that the 3 individuals that we are in charge of, that we have one-on-ones, or even when they have legal sessions and they call them closed sessions. However, we need to do it. It needs to be done so that the public knows how we as a council feel about the 3 individuals that we are charged with.
Thank you. Ms. Miller Anderson.
The contract, if I can just throw this in real quick, the contract provides that there's no penalty or harm against the manager for any delays by the city council not doing an evaluation timely or not doing an evaluation at all.
Ms. Miller Anderson.
So just historically, I was quite pleased with seeing that we did have this evaluation to come to us, and since we're on this subject, as well as Ms. Nguyen, and I'm sure that one is still hanging out there as well. But traditionally, we as an agency have not been very good about doing evaluations, whether it's on the department director, and when I say we, I'm talking about the city manager doing it for the directors. And at most organizations, evaluations are done annually, and only until I got here did I not understand how that was not happening. But literally, people were going years without having an evaluation. So that is certainly something that needs to be corrected. And also, one of my questions is, I don't have a problem, and I would, like I said, I would assume everybody is meeting with Mr. Evans, and like you said, Mr. McCoy, I'm sure he gets calls or texts from all of us all the time. So those unofficial conversations are happening. I don't have a problem with holding off for Mr. McCoy to get his scores in, but I do know that we did all get the forms, and I know I had to be reminded a number of times to even do it for the first go round. And then it was pulled off because everybody hadn't submitted theirs, and then it came back. So there has been a long span of us, having time to get it done. But like I said, I don't have a problem with waiting and allowing that conversation to happen so that all the scores are included. But we have had plenty of opportunities to do this. Right. And then the thing is, my question is, when Mr. Lawson, I think you mentioned about possibly having that added, I think, to the contract, and correct me if I'm wrong on how you said it. If you were saying to insert that into the contract where people are required or allowed the opportunity to go and have a conversation with Mr. Evans before providing their scores, are we talking about opening the contract? Or are you just saying when we get to that point again later on? Like, well, go ahead and wrap it up for this time. And then when the contract comes back around, we can add that at that point.
Mr. Lawson.
Yes, Madam Chair, I don't want to reopen the contract. We can add that in as a caveat to our next contracts. We have an executive director we're going to be hiring for our CRA. And also we have Mr. Haygood as well. So I believe it's actually 4 individuals, 4 that we're actually have to do this for. So having the discussion and putting a time frame, and like Mr. McCoy said, that it's not being held against our city manager, our city attorney, or CRA or CRA attorney if it's not done within a timely fashion. But at least we know that's something that was an expectation, that we have that meeting prior to submitting the review within 1 year of their hire and within their annual renewals every year. So if we just outline that with our future contracts and as the contract comes back up.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. And my other point was going to be, I can't even recall the last time we had an evaluation done over in the CRA. So if anything, let's be the council to put these things into place and make sure people are being evaluated, because if something needs to be addressed, it needs to be addressed and not just kick the can down or just hold people on just because they're there. So that would be when we start get these new people on, or come to a point of another contract, that we make sure we stick with the evaluations getting done, and actually make sure that the city managers or the CRA directors and evaluations on their employees as well, because that with the employees has not always happened.
Right. Ms. Lanier and Mr. Lawson and Mr. McCoy.
I mean, I agree with what everyone is saying here, but I think that this should apply across the board. This should apply to the city attorney. This should apply to the city manager, and this should apply to the CRA director in terms of the concerns that the council has. I agree. I understand Mr. McCoy's concerns in terms of not being able to, or not even, if he wanted to take his time doing it, then that's his prerogative. But the city manager should not be penalized for that. And I understand the city manager's position is that, let me bring it to the council because I don't want to be penalized for it. So it's a situation where we need to make sure that the language that we are putting forth for all 3 people that we are in charge of, that it goes across the board, and it's not just Mr. Evans trying to get his evaluation in because it may affect his contract. Because guess what? The reason why he did this is because guess what? He had a contract before. And he knows what happens if you slip up and you don't bring things to the council and you don't get people to say nothing, then it look like, I guess what, ain't nothing happening. So he's been down that road before. So we understand his position with this. So this should make sure that everybody, the 3 people that we are in charge of, this should be across the board, and not just for Mr. Evans as well.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
fully
Lawson.
agree with you. And it's 4, right? We have the city attorney, the city manager, and the CRA director. 4.
Right.
Actually, I'm sorry.
I know if you want to say 5, but it's 4. It's 4. Thank you.
Miller Anderson.
What's the
Okay,
4?
we need some order.
CRA attorney.
The CRA attorney, Mr. Lawson, and then Mr. McCoy, and then we need to move on because it's getting time for us to vote to extend the meeting. Mr. Lawson.
Yes, Madam Chair. I was going to just ask if we could have this item brought back, Mr. Evans, at the next meeting. If Councilman McCoy, in his very busy schedule, could make some time to meet with you over the next week and a half to get this on the next agenda. And then have the numbers updated, including and encompassing Councilman McCoy's scores.
Lest I be accused of putting words in anyone's mouth, it sounds to me like we have a consensus on that. Mr. McCoy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I want to also, since we don't have to agenda this, we might well vote for a chairperson since we're doing the evaluations, because I see you fail at that every single time.
Well, maybe you'll have your turn someday, and then we'll see how you
I'm not interested. I can tell you that, but please allow me to finish. And let me say a few things. So, Mr. Lawson, I appreciate your comments, but I don't think that should be in the contract, because here's why.
He said that he didn't want it to, he did not say it should be in the contract.
Here we go again.
Mr. Lawson, did you say it should be in the contract?
He did say we need to consider putting it in the contract for
Mr.
the
Lawson.
I'm gonna let
CRA director.
Madam Chair, I'm gonna let Councilman McCoy finish his comments.
He did say that.
Why? No, he didn't. He said
I'll wait till he completes it.
absolutely said he did not want it to open the contract.
No, he didn't want to open this contract, but he said he wants to consider this for the CRA director's contract.
Yeah,
But
fine.
this is why we don't want to put it in the contract. Here's why.
Madam Chair, hold on. I will address that. Councilman McCoy is accurate. I said that I would like to not open up the contract discussions, and moving forward with our next contract, consider putting this in as a discussion. So without us playing semantics, I mean, I want us to just move forward. I know Councilman McCoy.
I'd love it if we could move forward. Go ahead. But then since I'm such a terrible chair, I guess I can't get you to move forward. Go ahead. I always do, because sometimes we spend an inordinate amount of time making the same comments over and over and over again, and people complain to me constantly that I don't keep the meeting in check, that I let you speak too many times, and I am trying to get this meeting to be moving along. Yes, I like to move the meeting along. Go ahead, Mr. McCoy. I'm going to recognize you one more time, and then that's it.
Okay, well, we're going to have to, I'm going to actually ask for my members to give me a super majority to overrule you. But let me tell you something. I'm not an educator. I studied accounting, and I know numbers a little bit better than I know how to comprehend, and I know how to do language, and I know how to do education. So perhaps it may take me a little bit longer time, but extend me the professional courtesy of not filling my sentences, of not assuming or not trying to summarize or paraphrase what my thoughts or other members of this board's thoughts. Because quite honestly, I know you want to make it efficient, but this is business. This is the only reason that we're elected, not social events, but to vote and pass a resolution to make sure that we're affecting the quality of life. But if for some reason you have a bedtime that you got to get to, respectfully, we have a pro tem that can take the helm. But Madam Chair, please do not try to rush us. Like, I don't like to be in meetings for an extended amount of time, but when we have issues that are not very clear, please don't try to rush me along when I want to get clarity, because I don't particularly moved by the fact that you got constituents that contact you. The ones that really encourage me is the ones that tell me, do what you do, ask questions, make sure you get clarification, because I didn't understand what that meant. But for Christ's sakes, please, Madam Chair, show me a little bit of courtesy and respect if I don't understand, and I want to make sure we get clarity. Tonight in itself, there was at least 2 different separate occasions where this was very important, and I would like to see if you can just please hold your horses and allow us to deliberate and make sure that everybody, before we make so that we can make an informed decision and we're not held accountable because everything is political, that we can at least know what we're voting on. That's all I'm asking. Is that enough? Well, in any event, I'll move to my next concern. So, Mr. Lawson, the reason why I didn't want it to be, or I didn't think it's a good idea to be in the contract, is because I would much rather a resolution. Obviously, if we take something 3 months ahead of time, I'm okay with that. But the problem with a contract, it really puts a lot of onus on the city. And in the event, if we have anything like what we had in 2020 or in 2019, for that matter, with computer hacks or staffing changes, I mean, we've been through 3 different city managers in our time here as members of this council. But I don't want anything that binds us into a adversarial position where we're leaving one of our employees who report to us in a negative posture to feel that they've been violated, or the city has violated them based on the provisions of the contract. And obviously we can't account for every single thing. And, members, also, I will ask that we keep in mind, I mean, this issue didn't start with Mr. Evans. Obviously, the city attorney is overdue, and her contract was up, and I think the evaluations was due in January. Correct, Ms. Nguyen? So we're already 7 months over time. And Mr. Evans, your explanation about, the CRA director, I first brought up the evaluation of the CRA director, not because I really wanted one, but because of the fact that the interim executive CRA directors purpose was just to fill a temporary role and it wasn't permanent. So to give an evaluation of something that was temporary, I just wanted to show the members that it was never intended for us to have Mr. Scott Evans in a permanent role. Had we thought that way, or the previous CRA commission, he would have been permanent. But in any event, I still had some questions of legal concern, and I can reach out to the manager and meet with him this week. And then I can certainly have a conversation with him, but it's in draft form. And if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Wynn, draft form documents are not considered public records until they're finalized, correct?
Depends on what the documents are. Some drafts are, yes.
Got a lot of feedback, but okay. In any event, I don't have a problem with Shannon. I'm not so much concerned about what may come of it, but I wanted to make sure that I at least had a conversation with the manager, because what I believe on my end may be nothing, could be something, but I want to afford the manager that opportunity, and then we can certainly post it to the agenda. All right, thank you.
Ms. Lanier.
Madam Chair, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to go. I want to make sure that exactly what Mr. McCoy said, that every one of the people who we are in charge of comes before this council and is also vetted and had a conversation with each councilman before it does come. What I want to say lastly is that congratulations, Mr. Evans. You have survived a year. You have survived this council. you know, so you're here now, and we appreciate your assistance. We appreciate your support. We appreciate the fact that you always make sure that whatever you bring to this council, it just kind of just brings up more questions. So you always prompt us to be able to have these good discussions. So we can appreciate that. We really can. And we can appreciate the fact that when you do come to the council, you know, you just make us just be on our toes. So we can appreciate that fact. And congratulations again of being the city manager for the city of Riviera Beach.
I second that motion.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Miller Anderson, go ahead.
And I just wanted to say, you know, thank you to Mr. Evans that, you know, bringing back some sort of, and not to really, please understand, I've been here for a minute, so I've had my share of city managers as well. And the level of communication is beyond anything that I could ever, you know, want, probably more than sometimes I ever want, but I do get caught up at some point. And, you know, but just being on top of things, following through and making sure that the items that we bring before you, you're able to follow through. And if you don't have an answer for it at the moment, you always make sure you circle back and get it done. And I think over the past year, you've been able to accomplish a lot of things. A lot that I've seen has been accomplished in a year that I have not seen accomplished in many years. And, you know, it's not all on the city manager. It you know, is attributed to the council as well. So it helps that we have a council that wants to get things done. And I'm just glad that you're in the position to help us make sure that what we want done happens. So I appreciate it, and appreciate your professionalism and just the dedication that you have to getting the job done and going above and beyond many times. So thank you so much. And I really am glad that, and I, you know, we all talk to people in the community, and I do believe you have probably won over some people that were not always in your corner from going back many years. And so I think just hearing those comments from people who were a part of the team, get rid of them, are now a part of the team of, you know, you're doing a great job. So I think that speaks a lot to all of the things that you've done while you've been here for the past year. So thank you so much for everything.
Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Evans. I think it sounds like, yes, go ahead.
Madam Chair, if I may, and certainly it's definitely refreshing to work for a board that is committed in good governance, that is committed in moving the city forward, that has no ulterior motives and intentions or pure to do the work of the public. And that is something that allows for us to do our job. And the team that we have assembled and the team we have now is definitely been able to do a lot of things. And I have to give credit to everyone in the executive management team, all the line level employees, City managers are only successful when they have the audacity to rest on the shoulders of giants, and that's our employees. They do an exceptional job. I'm proud to be a part of their team, and they are really committed to moving the agency forward. And I've worked for a lot of agencies. I've worked for multiple government entities, and Ms. Nguyen has been a phenomenal asset to the agency, and would I would have to say the best city attorney that I've had the opportunity and pleasure to work with. She's truly a professional and is always looking out for the best interests of the agency, and has been a great support to city administration. So the success and the things we've been able to do, it's been a collaborative and a team effort, and I'm glad to have the charter officer next to me, Ms. Nguyen. She's done a phenomenal job, and all the other members of the management team. And looking forward, this next year is going to be an exciting year for Riviera Beach, and looking forward to leading us through some of those challenging times. But I'm proud to be a part of this team and proud to work for an exceptional board.
Madam Chair, just one thing. I just want to say for Ms. Nguyen, Mr. Evans, Ms. Jacobs, the communication is outstanding. The communication that you guys give to us, what you provide to us every single day, I'm like, oh Lord, it's something else. Every single day, it is communication to let us know everything that's happening with the city, and I can really appreciate that. So that's all I need to say about that.
No problem. Councilman McCoy sometimes doesn't like when I have to call him, because usually it's not really good news. So.
Never good.
It's a lot Mr. McCoy doesn't like.
Madam Chair, when we're
Are you
done, I
ready?
want to move to extend.
I'm sorry, say again?
I would like to move to extend the meeting indefinitely so we can finish the agenda.
Would someone care to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Botel.
Well, contrary to what Mr. McCoy seems to think about my bedtime, I'm going to vote yes as well.
Unanimous vote.
Let's see, moving right along, we have a discussion by the city manager.
Madam Chair and members of the council, I am going to pinch hit item number 22 for the mayor.
I'm sorry, it's not on my, yes. Okay.
No problem. I can take that after city council reports or comments, or if the board wants me to do it under my comments, I can do it.
Go ahead and do it now.
Okay. All right. This particular item was predicated on a discussion that Mayor Felder had with the county administrator concerning CARES funding. As you all are aware, is that the federal government approved the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Securities Act, referred to as the CARES Act. This $2.2 trillion economic stimulus bill was passed by the 116th Congress, and Palm Beach County was a recipient county of approximately $261 million. The city of Riviera Beach did receive a direct allocation of approximately $25,000. As a result of the costs that multiple government entities have seen associated with COVID, communities such as Boca Raton, Jupiter, Boynton Beach, and Delray and West Palm have communicated in writing that they are dissatisfied with regards to no direct allocation from the county as it relates to the $261 million in which the county received. The county did take approximately $36 million of the $261 million and apportioned it for itself, leaving the remaining balance for other programs and activities. It has also been brought to the attention of the city of Riviera Beach that multiple agencies that are in our community that are providing some of the services are receiving funding through the CARES Act through the county. The city of Riviera Beach would like to send a letter or a resolution that is requesting the county provide for information as it relates to a direct allocation as well as what a matrix would be to ensure that there's fair and equitable appropriations that are being done countywide. From the information that's been provided to me is that the business assistance program that was provided, there was a lot of entities in the South County and some in the north part of the county that received a large portion of that. The city to year to date has expended approximately $1.6 million in COVID related activities and is looking for ways to see if there's an opportunity to get reimbursement or monies allocated from the county. The county believes that the legislation allows for the county to hold the money and that the state of Florida should be the entity to reimburse local government entities. Not a lot of county or not a lot of city administrators agree with that particular interpretation, as I'm the secretary treasurer of the Palm Beach County Managers Association. Also, we have seen other situations nationwide where recipient counties have allocated monies to local jurisdictions associated with this particular item. Based on information that I was also able to glean from news reports, is that the county has said that the $230+ million that was secured as it relates to the act is already spoken for. And so this item is to seek direction from the city council and to see if the council would be in favor of, one, requesting a matrix to ensure that there's fair and equitable apportionments of those funding streams countywide, especially specifically in Riviera Beach, as well as to see if there is an opportunity for any type of allocation directly to the municipalities in Palm Beach County. And Madam Chair, that concludes my presentation on behalf of the mayor, and I can answer any questions.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to that effect, Mr. McCoy?
Mr. Evans, clarify the amount that you said. Did you say we've spent 1.6 million?
Yes, sir.
And that's total pandemic related expenses?
That is correct. That's the last calculation that I got from finance. Yes, sir.
Two other things. Is that inclusive of pandemic pay?
That's inclusive of everything, sir.
Okay, and did pandemic pay stop on August 2nd?
Yes, sir. I believe August 2nd or August 3rd. Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't have a problem with us asking, but we don't ask to see what we're going to get. I think we need to ask something very specific. Do you have something in mind specifically to request from the county as opposed to just asking for anything?
Yes.
What exactly?
What we're looking for is reimbursement specific for some of the PPE that we've acquired, some of the items that we've secured as it relates to COVID specific activities. So more of the tangible items that we're requesting. And as well as some of the entities that we have partnered up with that have received a direct appropriation, such as I believe Palm Beach Harvest has received allocations of fundings and some other agencies. We have also facilitated staffing and assisting those entities. So reimbursement as it relates to those activities where staff had to augment those outfits to be able to provide that service to the community, to include law enforcement assets to do traffic control, etc.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry for really trying to slide this in. Mr. Evans, I don't think this was ever discussed with us, but has there ever been any appropriations, consideration of appropriations for the COVID testing and the staffing that went into that, that was incurred by our city and the resources that was spent?
There was no direct appropriation, but those would be specific costs as well that we would look to recoup if possible.
Okay, so without a doubt, I certainly support us doing that, but I want to be specific as to our skin in the game, if you will, related to combating COVID and the things we had to do as a city. Obviously, and I got to commend Councilperson Lawson for this. I don't know of any other city in the county and probably the region that was first out of the gate with opening up our municipality to do COVID-19 testing. And obviously, the staff time that's associated with all of those testing sites, organizing, Parks and Rec, public safety. I certainly want to make sure that we have a specific ask. I'm okay with us going to ask, but I want to make sure that we can delineate it, that this is not just something that we did for Riviera Beach, but obviously, I mean, me and Councilwoman Kashama Miller Anderson realized when we were doing mask giveaway that it wasn't just Riviera Beach residents, you know, so we really didn't turn anybody away that needed a mask. So certainly I would want to make sure that it's a specific ask. That's my only concern.
Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things to, you know, the city of Riviera Beach, even though the county got a lot of PR and publicity associated with the mailing of the mask, we mailed out masks twice. And they mailed out masks to over 650,000 households in Palm Beach County. And so that probably was well over $1 million as it relates to that initiative. But your city was the first to do it. And we've done a lot of things that were first in a lot of entities. With our beach program, we've been able to send that on to other communities. So some of the things that we were doing to combat the virus certainly speaks volumes where others have duplicated it. But, you know, we will, when we look to bring back a resolution and a letter, we will enumerate some of the things in more specificities that you've spoken of, Mr. Councilman McCoy. So it's there.
So if I can say, Mr. Evans, I would not want to delay it because I can tell you that money's not going to last very long. So I want to go ahead and commit the resolution. If you can kind of fine tune it with the details of whatever those numbers are with you in finance, then, you know, I certainly support it, but I want to be sure that it's something that we can all say that's measurable and not just benefits the city of Riviera Beach, but obviously the county as a whole, because, you know, we serve Palm Beach Shores residents as well as, you know, Mangonia Park residents with water and other utilities, and we have to kind of redivert and reappropriate staffing. So I want to support us doing it and, you know, commit a resolution to that effect and obviously not delay the time. So, you know, I'm in support, and when the time's appropriate, I'm okay with making the motion if there's nobody else.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Councilperson Lanier,
Yes.
Councilperson McCoy,
Yes.
Pro Tem Lawson,
Yes.
Chair Votel,
Yes.
unanimous vote.
Discussion by, did you have anything else, Mr. Evans?
No, Madam Chair, that's it.
Thank you. Discussion by City Attorney?
Yes, Madam Chair, just briefly. Thank you so much, Mr. Evans and Council, for your kind words. Mr. Evans is a phenomenal city manager, and this past year has been a great year for the city of Riviera Beach, primarily due to his efforts and the team that he's put together along with Ms. Jacobs. I think we've accomplished a lot, and I believe that under Mr. Evans' leadership that we'll continue to accomplish a lot more and make you all very proud.
Thank you. City Council committee reports.
I'll save mine for the next meeting. There's some reports and some issues, not issues, but some things to say about the testing and about the mask, but I'll leave that for our next meeting.
Okay. I attended July 22nd, I attended the League of Cities meeting. I think Councilwoman Miller Anderson was there as well, I'm not sure. July 30th, I attended the Economic Development Committee of the Palm Beach North Chamber. We had a good presentation from Rick Morrell, who's the CEO and president of Salt Chuck Logistics, he was also the former CEO of Tropical Shipping. He gave us some really good information about becoming a resilient community. We also had a report from the Sustainability Subcommittee, of which I'm a member, and Dr. Wibby, who is now the chair of the Logistics Task Force, made a presentation, and Mr. Evans provided the update on Riviera Beach developments. Any other committees? Any other committee reports? Okay. Comments from councils?
I'll make mine the next meeting.
Okay.
Next.
City Council discussion, starting with Ms. Miller Anderson.
No, I don't have anything for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two quick announcements. We're currently going to be hosting the backpack drive. It's going to be a all drive-through backpack drive for all residents of Riviera Beach. That is going to be on the 26th of, I'm sorry, on the 22nd of August. We're really focused on virtual learning because we just understand that a lot of kids, Palm Beach County, will be staying home. So our focus is going to be CDC compliance, masks, earbuds, things that are going to be beneficial for the kids. They still need supplies because they'll be working from home, but at the same time, please come out and get your free supplies. Residencies are for all kids, K through 12. So please, it's going to be about 1,000 book bags we're looking to give out on the 22nd. We're partnering with Sincere 2000, which is a local nonprofit organization, amazing organization that also focuses on mental health within our community. And that is one of the biggest things that our kids are struggling with right now. Just the fact that we've never experienced this, and as adults we can comprehend and actually understand, but these children, they don't understand why they can't go play with their friends, they can't come out the house, they can't go to school. So it's something that we want to address and really focus on while we're providing supplies from residents. And tomorrow we will be hosting one of our phases of the Bridge, which is a community conversation. It's a task force that was created to bridge that gap between the police force, our residents, our state's legislation, our state attorney's office. So tomorrow, Mr. State Attorney David Ehrenberg and his staff will be on the call. So please, residents, if you can tune in, it's going to be on channel 18 Riviera Beach. It'll be on Facebook Live. It'll be on Facebook. So just tune in, guys, if you can, and just participate. Council, it's going to be a great discussion. So thank you, colleagues. And that's at 7:30 tomorrow.
Thank you. Ms. Lanier?
I just wanted to say that three things. As we're going into budget talks and budget sessions, I want you, council members, colleagues, to remember three programs: the reclaim and the reentry program, through the city's reentry and the CRA's CDC program, to think about the Hope Dealers program, which is a part of and can be a part of the city's Parks and Recs and police department. And also, and let me tell y'all people, this thing has gotten really big. The sow and grow, which means that you can be your own gardener, you can grow your own food type of program. And I've told y'all guys before that I was never a green thumb, never knew anything about it. I got a whole full-fledged garden in the back of my yard. I just ate a salad that I made out of my own garden, people. So get involved with this sow and grow program with the CRA, because they provide the soil, they provide everything that you need to grow your own food. I'm eating my own food. So yes, those are things that I want you to consider, and that's my report.
Thank you. Mr. McCoy, are you still with us?
I'm here. I can't see anybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I can't. I lost video. For some reason.
You're back. You're back.
There we go. Just real quick, Ms. Evans, I was traveling this morning at 4 a.m. and I was just circling the city, and I just seen a huge sheriff's operation at about 3:45 in the morning in Councilwoman Miller Anders' district in the very northern end of Avenue E. And it was crime scene tape, and it made me very nervous. And I wanted to call the police department just to see if somebody can kind of give me an insight as to what's going on. But it really makes me nervous, and I didn't see it in our significant incident report. But I would just hope that there is still some sort of mutual aid where they extend the courtesy to the city of Riviera Beach. Because the moment when things happen like this, we receive a number of calls, and everybody's a little upset to see members of a different police department in our area. And obviously we know the sheriff's department comes with a reputation that is very great, and in that they protect the president of the United States. And sometimes they have other reputations that I don't want to speak of, but I just would hope that we don't have the president traveling up E Avenue at 3 o'clock in the morning, or there's some other very abnormal event, which I don't want to kind of speculate to suggest, but I just keep us posted on that, because that was very surprising, and there was a large police presence. I want to certainly have the conversation about Monroe Heights, because I don't see that there's been any kind of substantial progress. Avenue M is done, and I want to see, at this point, we have to do something, because I'm receiving constant calls, and I think I shared with you one of the concerns that I received regarding a property outside of Monroe Heights, but obviously we have some real challenges with our roads. I wanted to kind of just put this on your agenda to see if you can share with us something offline, audit services and where we at with that. And also to share with the members and also the public that early voting is going on at Wells. And I would imagine we're still doing our food distribution, but I thought I've seen it relocated to further in the south end of Wells Recreation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We've modified our location for early voting. So we've moved the location.
Okay. And Ms. Wynn, I know you're not prepared for this, but I'm going to ask you anyways. But I want to know where we are on the Hinkin properties and specifically Brook subdivision, because I have a lot of concern with it. And even if we don't even have to discuss it tonight, I want to know at least publicly where we're going to go and what's next on that agenda regarding that, because I've gotten a couple concerns regarding that, and I want to see if we can have that discussion, even if it's offline or a memo to each of the members individually or conversation. Okay, so that's all I have.
Yes.
Thank you, members, for indulging me. And did you have something, Ms. Wynn?
Oh, I thought you wanted the answer now, but I can inform each of we're still in negotiations with Mr. Hankin. Okay,
offline.
thank you.
Thank you. Good night, Madam Chair. Thank you. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I have a few things. I wanted to update people on the submerged lands issue. I received the following information from Mike Stahl, who's heading up the task force. He's the deputy director of He said the first meeting of the floating ordinance task force is scheduled for August 12th at 1 p.m. Part of the agenda is to develop a timeline for the revisions and ultimate adoption. So this is an outgrowth of the meeting I had a couple of weeks ago with a number of other municipalities. Wanted to update you on the Palm Beach State College courses. We already have 20 students registered for the next cohort, and this will be another business specialist CCC. If you want to be a part of that cohort, please email stbrown@rivierbeach.org. It offers free tuition and books if you qualify for financial aid, and you'll come away with a 12-credit CCC, which is a college credit certificate. We will be meeting with the college to expand the program offerings to include logistics and transportation specialist CCC, and that'll be in the next cohort as well. I was approached by two different organizations wanting to offer professional tutoring for Riviera Beach school students who have been probably left behind somewhat, you could say, in their schoolwork due to the problems with distance learning, particularly in multi-child households. And so they are going to need funding. And I approached the Friends of the Riviera Beach Schools, and they are considering funding some trial programs, both at the late elementary and middle school level to provide tutoring for these children. I will keep you apprised of what we're calling Operation Catch Up in case you wish to sponsor one or more city scholars with donations from your community benefits fund. Obviously, the foundation would name each of the scholars, so it would be a Councilwoman Lanier Scholar or a Councilman Lawson Scholar, et cetera. And it would be wonderful if you could keep in touch with your own scholar and so on, offering encouragement. The last thing I have to say is the Lake Worth Lagoon Group will meet on legislative funding requests on August 13th at 10 a.m. One of the requests being considered is the purchase of submerged lands on Singer Island. If anyone is interested in the details of that meeting, please email me at jbotel@rivierbeach.org. And very last, the North Tech Pre-Apprentice Program is soliciting students for carpentry, electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and welding, and you can contact them directly through their website. And that's all I have. If there's nothing else, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.